podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Because you've got powerful legs. How'd you get the physique? Was it gym or how'd you get the physique?
I've always been...
She's actually not got powerful legs. Do you shower in your dressing room? Do you have a shower on the day of a fight or not? Tell us about the tattoos.
Shut the fuck up, you little prick.
But then I've got the Phoenix.
Hey, prick.
So I'll take it from Bob every day of the week.
Absolute disgrace.
I'm sure no one will mind.
Move him out of here, Darren.
Ricky Hatton didn't go over for his fighter because he risked getting abducted and sold into sexual slavery.
I never said that.
Both have been rape victims. I'm not watching Frank Buglioni live on Saturday night. You're out of your mind.
Jesus Christ, get yourself a life.
He's actually a priest.
Yeah.
It's because his brother John Fury eye gouged him.
What have I told you all this time? He's going to end up sucked out, fucked out, looking for a handout.
Boxing nutters messenger group. I'm gonna be the king.
J-Pump, you know what I'm saying?
Welcome, everyone, to the Triple Fives. Yes, that is the 555th edition of the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse, second edition of 2024. We've got a couple of fights to discuss. We got a clubhouse leader for Fight of the Year as well. And but I think the main thing on everybody's minds is the fact that it seems like the stage is set to finally see Artur Beterbiev against Dmitry Bivol following his 7th round demolition of Callum Smith last night from Canada. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Matt DiGianaro. With us today, Steve Wellings, Andy Patterson, and our good buddy Dominic is with us as well today. I think Des will be hopping in, and our favorite Mr. Rappin' Rob Kelly as well. But we'll kick it off here. Steve, Beterbiev, bad man. What he does in that ring, it's something else, man. His jabs hurt. Everything he throws at you hurts. Fair play to Smith. Actually threw some punches in there. Tried harder than he did in the Canelo fight. But, man, did it end horribly for him. 7th round stoppage. Going down twice. Going down for the first time in his career. Setting down again. Rough night for Smith. Beterbiev, man, he's just doing what he does best.
Yeah, I think Smith was exonerated for the Canelo fight. Actually, you mentioned it there. He didn't try in that fight. He tried in this one, and look what happened. You might as well not try, I think, is the moral of the story.
In the words of Homer Simpson, the moral of the story is never try.
Exactly, man. But you mentioned Beterbiev's power. I could feel those shots at home. He is a beast. We all know that. And Smith, I don't think he could get Beterbiev's respect. When you've got nothing to keep him off you, he's just going to keep rolling forward all night. He's a lot more patient, Beterbiev at times now, just stands off, does his thing. He knows he's a little older. The body's a little slower to recover. He steps in behind that beautiful jab, just lets it dictate. And Smith, he threw a few shots. I thought his legs were a little bit wonky, like spaghetti early on before a punch had even been thrown. He landed some good body shots in there. The left hook, Buddy McGirt was calling for that. The odd left hook to the head as well. But he didn't really commit to anything. And for good reason. Beterbiev, he shortens up those shots. They're just coming in, bang, bang, 6 inches, 8 inches. They come so quickly, and that's what did for Smith ultimately. He got caught in the exchanges by the one you don't see coming. And once you're hurt by someone of Beterbiev's danger, it's all over. He's one of the game's best finishers at the moment. He's right up there. And to beat him, I think you need to be able to take a shot. And you've got to have great durability. You've got to have good stamina as well. You've got to be able to box a little bit. You've got to move constantly, giving angles, which is why the Bivol fight is so intriguing, because he does possess many of these attributes.
And
Now,
we've seen him do it for 12 rounds over and over again.
We
I mean,
have.
with Beterbiev in your face, but
well,
we've seen a 12-round motor from him.
Exactly, that's what I was just about to say. You're absolutely correct. Whether he can stay out of the way of someone with Beterbiev's awesome power, his ability to hit hard to the head, the body, dictate things with the jab for 12 rounds, stay off the ropes for long enough, is a completely different matter. Callum Smith certainly couldn't last night. We'll see if Beterbiev's able to do that. Bivol's able to do that, as and when they fight.
Yeah, we were definitely looking forward to that one. Andy, our good friend, Mr. Eddie Hearn, was absolutely positive that Callum Smith was going to knock out Beterbiev last night. And I'll tell you what, he landed a couple of decent left hooks. He did. But one might have stopped Beterbiev in his tracks for a moment. But I don't know if he landed his Sunday best punch, but his hardest shot did very, very little to deter this guy. Not only is he a destructive puncher, I got to say Beterbiev is a very durable fighter as well. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah, without doubt. I mean, I guess we'll need to touch upon the drug issue in a little bit, but you're right in what you're saying. I mean, he is durable, doesn't really waste many punches. This is what I'm kind of like also, sorry to kind of drag it right up immediately, but the drug testing situation is such that people are kind of like, especially those that picked Smith by knockout, they're kind of like going on here today like it's like it was a Hulk type performance that he's actually literally smashed Callum Smith over the ring, throw him over the top rope, and all that type of stuff. It wasn't like that at all. You say it was steady pressure, didn't waste many shots. What was key to me anyway, seen it within the first 15 to 20 seconds of that first round. Beterbiev stabbed him in the body with a right hand, and he felt it immediately. He sagged a little bit. He certainly folded up, and he backed off and onto the ropes, and that's where it becomes all at sea. Because once he starts kind of teeing off and you're picking his shots, and that, it becomes seriously problematic. And again, as he says, I think Smith did land his Sunday best. I just think when it comes to that guy, he just seemed to eat it all up, whereas everything that he landed on Smith, it was visible. You could see him swelling up, you could see him dragging in the breath. It was hard going for him, and that's just simple what it was. I think he did land his best shots, as you say. He mentioned a few left hooks, he landed a few body shots, a few upstairs and that as well. Did show that Beterbiev can be hit. I mean, he is a straightforward fighter, but when he can step to the side and just bring shots all over the place, and that Smith's got no defence to it, and everything that he landed pretty much did its job, you know. Even if it's on the arms or on the gloves, and that it hurts. That guy is that type of puncher, and at this point, it's going to take like a guy like Bivol who can probably float about the ring, jab him with the 1-2, and then get out of distance and that, because it's really going to be a long night for anybody who tries to think that they can stand in the pocket with that guy, maybe even tee off with him. He had nothing, absolutely nothing to bother Beterbiev there last night. And people, we'll touch on the drugs and that a wee bit. I'll let the guys come in here and mention their take on the fights and that as well. But absolute domination.
Yeah, and it's what I'll tell you what, Dominic, what really impresses me about Beterbiev is that, you know, he came out there guns blazing in the first round. You almost think he could have ended it. Smith kind of steadied himself in round number 2. And then what does Beterbiev do? He goes out and he throws over 100 punches in the third round just to say, motherfucker, this fight is fought on my terms whenever I want it. And it's pretty incredible that he just very much can. It seems like when he wants it to be, Dom, the fight is over. It's all on the call of Artur Beterbiev and when he's ready to call it a night.
Yeah, he's must say, I was just going back to what Andy was saying briefly there about the start of the fight. The first thing I noticed was how fast he came out the first 20-30 seconds of that first round. I mean, he came out like it's quite unusual for him to come out that, if you've watched a lot of his fights,
like he did with Smith, like he did with Smith.
Well,
there was too much talk pre-fight, and Beterbiev's come out there early door because he promised him he was going to come looking for him after all the talk in the build-up.
Yeah, it's interesting. We'll get back to that later about the. I mean, I think if you look at what the post that his team put out after the drugs thing, I suspect that someone's obviously putting the statements out on his social media, like the statement that came out. But that that doesn't necessarily mean to say that, as Andy is alluding to, that he wasn't clearly having the intention to come out and put a marker down from the get-go. But I mean, you were saying there, Matty, like the Joe Smith fight, that was slightly different, I think, because that was a case of Joe Smith coming out very gung-ho early on, and Beterbiev was, he was sort of very happy for Smith to just walk into the traps. Last night, that first 30 seconds, he came out right on the front foot, almost like the way Golovkin would have used to do, just pumping the jab, really bossing Smith back the first sort of 30 seconds of that first round. But yeah, I mean, just you said, he took the second round. Smith sort of came back into it a bit, and it just sort of made me think about the accusation about the steroids or the drugs or whatever you want to call it. But I saw someone mention earlier that a fighter who takes rounds off, like Beterbiev arguably did last night in the 5th and 6th, and you could even argue that he was winning those rounds despite looking like he was taking them off. A fighter who takes rounds off, that doesn't tend to be the hallmark of a fighter who's maybe juicing or using something. But it wasn't. The thing that struck me was the difference in the Yard fight and that fight last night. I couldn't help but feel that Yard put up a far better showing. His weight of punch clearly discomfited Beterbiev more than Smith did. Yeah, it was. And the other thing I would say as well is, I think one of the guys in our chat last night, Matty, I think it's a guy, Joseph. He's a trainer. He trains fighters for amateur boxers for a living. But he said it looked that Beterbiev was almost pulling his punches, that he was maybe delivering the shots with maybe 60-70% of the force that he could generate. And
I can see that, Don. But let me offer up to you on the same card a little compare and contrast. Christian Mbilli, all he does is throw everything as hard as he can. I think Beterbiev, it's not so much that he's pulling them, it's the fact that he gets you into a place where you're not expecting it. Maybe he makes you think that you're like, oh, I've become accustomed to these punches at some point, and then he wings in the hard one. I think when he takes it a little bit off of there, I think it's all about setting up the next shot. I think it's very calculated.
Yeah, I think that's. And one thing I would say is, I think that's a wrinkle that I don't think we've seen too much of hitherto. I think I don't really recall him, showcasing that sort of offensive subtlety up to this point. But what I was going to say was that if you compare to the Yard fight, which was a brilliant fight, there was half a dozen different occasions in those 7 and a bit rounds where there was a memorable sort of exchange for both guys on the ropes. And if you try and remember back, Beterbiev was hitting Yard. He was putting everything into those shots because he knew that he had to detain Yard. He sensed his sense in there that night was that, Yard was that game and that bullish, that he had to hit him with as much as he could muster. Whereas last night, I felt that he was just, as you say, he was content to mix up the force and mix up the velocity. So it's maybe that's just a sign that he was less bothered by what was coming back. But yeah, I'll let Des come in here and see what he has to say.
Yeah, Des, there's a lot to like about Beterbiev. I mean, he's a guy who's approaching 40. He's not the fastest fighter of hand or foot, but every movement that he makes has purpose, and he doesn't really waste anything, as has been said before. He's a cold, calculated fighter with hands like fucking toasters. I mean, it has got to hurt like nobody's business when you take a right hand from that guy, and the jab too. I mean, that jab is a big reason why Smith was so busted up.
Well, Steve touched on something 5 minutes ago, that everything Beterbiev throws is short. He's very tight. He's very compact. he seems to get, if you can imagine his midriff, he seems to get that centre of everything he does. So he never reaches, he never overextends. He's in complete control all the time. His balance is brilliant. Joe
like
Kennedy
a good golf swing, like a good golf swing. Everything is rotated around the core. Everything's around the core.
It's all around. Everything comes off the trunk. Exactly right. And Joe Kennedy said something yesterday, and it made me really I had to think about it. I had to watch it, and I've watched it a couple of times today. Beterbiev's feet are brilliant, and he shuffles along, and he's got really good balance, really good proprioception. I've got to tell you, this is no surprise though, because now someone in the chat or one of you lads might correct me, but he got beat by Usyk in 2012, and he got beat by the Chinese fella in 2008. So he was beat. He went to 2 Olympics and got beat by 2 gold medalists. He's also won the Worlds, and he's won 2 Europeans, and he also won the Amateur World Cup, which was something they floated in 2005 to 2009, and it included the Americas and the Eastern European and the Cubans. It was as good as any Olympics or Worlds. He's won that as well.
Wasn't that kind of a precursor to the 5-round thing that they do?
That was the first one. Correct, Matty. That was the first one they tried. Now, tell you how good that was. I don't think any country in the Commonwealth sent their kids to that event. So, and he won it. So this guy is a serious athlete. He's a serious boxer. What he's done in the pros, he stopped Tavoris Cloud in 2 rounds in his 6th fight. He won a version of a world title, I think, in his 13th fight.
We're looking at he stopped Campillo too, who was still a good fighter at that time, who definitely got robbed against the aforementioned Cloud.
Correct, and we always look back at, say, when DeGale and Groves fought each other for a British title, and I think they had a dozen fights between each. So when Beterbiev fought Gavodnich, there was only one had 15 fights, one had 17 fights. So these guys weren't overly experienced, but they still had an elite class fight between them. This guy is the real deal. He's a real special fighter. I kind of got off on a tangent here because I'm so enamored by him. But what Steve said about the short punches, the tight guard, everything's simple, everything's in range. What he does, Beterbiev, he presses all the time, and it takes people into an uncomfortable position because they have to fight back. And what he does, he enforces pressure on you, and it's a suffocating process. And we saw it yesterday with Smith. He was popping out jabs and throwing shots that he probably didn't want to throw. He wasn't in a good place to throw them shots, but he had to throw them, and that becomes predictable. And Beterbiev was catching Smith with right hands over the top, or he was throwing the right hand and snapping back with that horrible jab. He's a heavy-handed guy. He's a puncher. He knows how to go looking for you. If he gets you in trouble, he's controlled enough to know how to keep you on the hook. And that's something you said a bit earlier on. Or I think Dominic said it. Not every punch has to hurt. Not every punch is a power punch. Well, I think that comes back to that discipline that coming through that Russian amateur boxing system where it's all about discipline. And someone mentioned about Bivol. It's going to be really interesting with Bivol because we've had a few conversations about Bivol the last few weeks. The one thing Bivol doesn't like doing is coming out of a comfort zone. It's been said a few times. Beterbiev will definitely take Bivol out of a comfort zone.
It'll be very interesting to see that, and
it'd be interesting. Sorry, Matt. It's been interesting to see Des if, because as I maintain that first right hand that Beterbiev landed to Smith's body in the first 15 to 20 seconds of the first round was telling. It instantly had an effect on him. It would just be interesting as well as what would Bivol do in a situation like that. I think it's caught early. Be interesting to see what would happen because at some point you have to stand and trade. At some point because he needs to stick and move. I think for most of the fight, but at some point. Fighting a guy like that who it takes a lot to shift him, takes a lot to deter him. You're going to have to, I think, at some point, stand in the pocket with him.
Something with sorry, Matty. Ames asked me to. Ames couldn't get his head around it, and I understand that because against Lyndon Arthur, he refused to come out of a comfort zone. He refused to come out of first gear. I'm talking about Bivol, Andy, and I kind of made the point that. He's had a lifetime of doing everything in a comfort zone. And as you rightly said, Beterbiev's going to catch him with shots that he's never been caught with. He's going to suffocate him. He's going to put him under a pressure that he's not used to being put under. And let's be clear, Bivol's an elite fighter himself, but I think Beterbiev offers a different type of pressure. Look, we've seen really good kids come from this region. We've seen Usyk, we've seen Bivol, Kovalev, Glavotinich. We've seen kids come from this region in recent years. Beterbiev is everything you want. He's mysterious. He's got mystique. He can punch. He believes in his toughness. He goes looking for you. He'll take one to give one. I think the best fight in boxing today is Beterbiev and Bivol. 100%. And I really am interested, because I know how good Bivol is. I'm not downplaying him, but I'm really interested to see if Bivol's got the answers to Beterbiev's questions. And Beterbiev's the only guy that can ask him them questions, I think. At that
the ring size would be an interesting battle between Bivol and Beterbiev before anything else.
Folk were saying that ring was tiny last night, some people thought.
18-footer.
But it was 18.
There we go.
The ring was tiny because they lost the purse bid, and that's what happens. Obviously, when you lose the purse bid, you cede control over all those sort of. But of course, it reminded me, Andy, of when I first turned on the TV to watch the Froch Groves rematch at Wembley, and I saw the ring. You remember Froch and Rob McCracken MBE had the ring absolutely tiny for that rematch because they didn't want Groves moving around him like he did in the first fight. But of course, the Smith team when the word broke that the ring was going to be small last night, they were all saying, "Well, no, this plays right into our game plan. We're not going to be going looking for him. We want them to come to us so we can nail him with that catch and counter left hook." But Steve was saying that the ring size fights of this magnitude, if it happens, and hopefully we'll get to see it. I always think things like the fight we're hopefully going to see in a few weeks, Fury and Usyk, what the referee will be prepared to let go in terms of Fury trying to rough Usyk up. That could be critical. Similarly, in a fight like this, the size of the ring could be very important. But it's what, when Beterbiev, when he's throwing those shots that sort of don't land flush but sort of cuff around the side of the head and hit on arms, they take they take a toll and the wear guys down. I mean, look at the state of Smith's face after the third round, and that was really just from jabs. He came back at the end of the third round from just the jab, and he was, God, his face was and straight away, you look at that, if you're in his corner, you know that you can't take more than a couple more rounds of that. Which is why the best way to fight him is the way Callum Johnson fought him and try and go for a shootout. But that's what was beautiful about the job as well was, he was doubling it up, and the first one would aim at the forehead, and then the second one would come down and just catch some flush, absolute plumb in the mouth of the nose. And I was actually surprised at the regularity with which he threw that right hand to the body, because that was the shot, which you would look at it and think that makes him vulnerable to that counter left hook, but he didn't have any reluctance to throw it. It was he looked formidable.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you're talking, Bivol, like really at the weight class, the only guy that might be able to beat him. And it's pretty incredible what Des was saying there. When you think about the guys who beat him in the amateurs, and then you go, Usyk, I mean, obviously standing out amongst them. And then the fight he had with Gvozdyk, where it was very close until it was over. That Ukrainian footwork, I mean, I think that has a lot to do with the ability of one to be able to beat him. It would kind of work away. I don't think just, circling the ring is what you need. You're going to need to be something far more sophisticated than that. And I'll tell you what, the people coming out of that 2012 Ukrainian Olympic team, that's an incredible group with incredible footwork. You had Usyk, Gvozdyk, Baranchik, Lomachenko all on that team. What a squad. But anyways, the legend Ricky Graville throwing 5 in there, saying Beterbiev not getting better with age. Smith is just average. That is also possible. The other legend in here today with us, and you go ahead and take yourself off mute there, Mr. Jason Chukwu. You are not only awake, you are here live with us to discuss the fights. How are you, sir?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I mean, I actually watched the card live, obviously work shifts, funny people doing funny stuff, but I'm not here to talk about that. But yeah, like, Beterbiev, he looked good, as he's been doing since because I've been watching him since the farthest cloud. He looked good, the jab, knows how to cut the ring off and everything. But yeah, Smith's never been a banger as well, so he was always up against it. But I gave Smith the first 2 rounds, but like, even the body shots he was throwing, like Beterbiev, just talking about. Yeah, Beterbiev, he's a great fighter. I do have a theory, I was just looking at his acne on the back, and like, I think he's on steroids. But you know how boxing is, everyone's on steroids. You know what I mean? Like AJ's on steroids, Holyfield's on steroids. So it's all about seeing who's got the best shoes. But regardless of the steroids, Beterbiev knows how to cut the ring off. So even against Bivol, I'm making the favourite. So like you lot are saying, he's a good fighter, but I don't know who would beat him. That's the thing. It'll be tough. Obviously, I'm going to be biased and say Adonis would have had a good chance, but even then, it's like Beterbiev's like he's a tough guy. You know what I mean? So yeah. But speaking of steroids, I mean, you can just tell who's on steroids and who's not. Like Kovalev, he went on steroids. He was just drinking Russian meat. But yeah, I just think Beterbiev, he's on the shit in it. But like maybe I'm thinking too much in it, man. Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's a good chunk of them are, a good chunk of them aren't. Some get caught.
But even with the steroids, that doesn't take away from his skill. That's my point, isn't it? So like,
you can take all the steroids you want, but you still can't accomplish what he's accomplished.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So, but like you lot are saying, the Eastern Europeans, I mean, like they're just amazing. I was having a theory, because I'm just thinking, much like they definitely brought white guys back into boxing. So like they're holding it down for you, definitely. So. Yeah, man. Shout out to them, man.
I'll tell you, I can't remember if Beterbiev is a Muslim or not. For some reason, I think he is. I mean, but that combined with that Russian discipline, that level of discipline can make you a hell of a fighter. Yeah, I mean, because you're definitely going to put the work in. There's everything about those ideologies is about putting the work in.
Yeah, because what they do in the Eastern Europe, they like I think they do boxing in school. I think something like that. So yeah, like. And because it's not like they don't have like a drinking culture that they have like in the UK. The discipline is like thorough and stuff. So and they do it from young as well. Like even he was the heavyweight. I can't remember his name. I think it's Hergovich. Whether he jumped in boxing at 18, but even then, like even though it's kind of late to like kind of jump in, like even he's disciplined as well. So just that part of the world. It is what it is.
Well, it comes from that old Soviet school, and it's that kind of starts to break itself over time. But I mean, not to get too much into geopolitics, but I don't think they're wholly separated from that entirely at this point in time. So that's obviously carrying on. You look at the Klitschko brothers; they're raised in, through that same system, and they were, the 2 best heavyweight boxers of their respective era as well. There's definitely something to it. I'm not saying it's the end all be all, because the one thing that they don't really have in Russia, and this might sound a little bit odd, but they're lacking that raw black athleticism where you get those style points, different angles and stuff.
Don't encourage him, Matty.
People.
Here, Chuck, I've got a question.
But the thing is, they're effective without that, though. So
yeah, I've got a question for you. An all Canadian clash, light heavyweight. Beterbiev, the Canadian destroyer, against Adonis Stevenson. How do you think that one would go? Adonis in his prime, obviously.
I know you lot all hate Adonis, but the thing is, one thing that a lot of people seem to get, Adonis was actually a very good body puncher. Like I know, like all the pimping and all of that, he was a good body puncher. But the thing is, like we saw again, I can't even lie. But then again, Vodge kick, that was after Badou Jack, and like when you fight Badou Jack, like you're never the same. So. We're talking prime Adonis against.
You just say when you fight Badou Jack, you're never the same.
No, it's true. Like, come on, it's like look what happened to the girl. Like, he ruined the girl. It's true. So
I'll tell you what. When it comes to Stevenson, I'll give you some love on that one. And there was one sneaky weapon that he had that I think could make that fight interesting, and it is to the body. But he had that nice right hook to the body that let him take a nice exit, and that would be out to the jab side, which I can't necessarily say is Beterbiev's weak side. But if I'm going to exit any direction on that guy, it's going to be away from his right hand.
I mean, do you not think Beterbiev would have beaten Kovalev? Like, who do you lot have picked in that one?
Well, that was a fight that was close to getting made at one point, wasn't it? I remember Dan Raphael saying it was all but agreed.
Beat him twice in the amateurs, didn't he?
Yeah, but he did. I was just gonna say,
not at the place that Sergey was with his body from years of abuse and drinking and shit. I would have to take Artur, but like prime for prime, that's a different fight. When you're talking like the Kovalev who was laughing at Jean Pascal, that's an interesting.
I think it was that around that version, wasn't it, against an early Beterbiev that they were talking about way back in the day.
Can I ask, because you lot always like Sean Hearn, but like I'm starting to see a couple of things, because I've seen a Cole leaving, Buatsi leaving, I'm like, even that I can't remember Dinyar Ulesanov, like he retired, didn't it? Like, and apparently I read an interview where he said that Hearn what he'll do, he'll offer him £100,000, but he won't extend the money even if they're fighting like big names. And like, what's going on with Hearn? Does he do fuck shit with the money? Like, I'm just wondering. Like,
I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
That Ulesanov guy was a good guy. Like, I used to see him on the card, but like, he's just non-existent.
He wasn't exciting, was he? And he come back in Russia a few weeks ago because I watched his fight, so he's back.
Oh, is it? Yeah, because I was looking at Box Record. I didn't even update it, but yeah, I'm watching React Poor Massey from like 2019 now. I'm just coming back into boxing because I'm just out the loop. Like, I'm just watching old fights. I'm like, I was even watching a Frampton fight against Tyler McCreary yesterday, innit? So just get back. I'm like 5 years behind, innit? So really, truly. But the thing is, like, that's why I like watching the Sky card.
If you get to 2020, let me tell you, if you have a way to like skip 2020, just go ahead and do that. Because if you missed out, it was shit.
I'm going to watch the Jake Paul card next, innit, as well. So yeah, against
Chuckwu's like Father Jack. He wakes up every 6 years or so.
Yeah. What was I going to say as well? What's going on with Sky? Like, it's not the same. Like, even like this card now, they're not even repeating it in full. Like, they used to have repeat the card and it'll be on the Skybox for like a week, on Sky Go.
Thank
but they're
the
not
Lord
even doing that.
They didn't show the full card, man.
Yeah, they're not doing that. Like, but I just caught it. But what do you lot think about that Imitative guy? The guy I think he's got 5 fights. What do you lot think about him? He's another one of them guys from the Eastern Bloc. Like, he's
yeah, he's good. Me and Andy are on that train. Yeah,
Katayev he's also known as a VPN fighter these days. Actually, went from Russian to Australian in 3 seconds.
Was he that bad on the undercard last night?
Yeah, it's a bad dude. Like,
he's light heavyweight, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked. We were talking. A few of us fellas were talking about it. I think myself and Joe Kennedy were talking about it. That
I mentioned him last week.
He looks solid as a rock, doesn't he?
He needs better opponents. That's the only thing. That guy last night was a third replacement. They had 2 Mexicans lined up who both pulled out. You can see why. That guy was near 400 and BoxRec, the Polish fella. They just had to get somebody in the end.
It was a good job they stopped it when they did, Steve.
That guy fought Ben Whittaker, I'm sure, in the amateurs.
Yeah, I didn't even know that Callum Smith left Joe Gallagher. Like, I didn't even know that was going on. Like, I had no idea. I didn't even know Adam Smith's not with Sky anymore. Like, I'm like, rah, is this what's going on? Like,
hey, you're Jason. More than welcome to stick around with us. But if you want, go ahead and mute real quick. I'm going to hit this super chat and hit this topic real quick.
I tell you who else he beat, by the way. That Julio Cesar La Cruz. That's another one who he beat.
There's a lot of them Julio Cesar's about. Michael M. tossed in $4.99 said, set the alarm for the fight. Beterbiev is something else. Scary man. Enjoy the analysis all. Keep her lit. Any thoughts on Dwyer calling a no contest? What the fuck? Is he talking about Dwyer, the betting guy?
Nah, must be.
Yeah, must be. I don't know. I've never watched him.
I don't know. Michael, go ahead. And if you could just put a follow-up in the chat on what that is. And I think you might be talking, maybe Dwyer was talking like Beterbiev in the first knockdown. Clearly, when Smith was going down, hit him right in the back of the fucking head.
I didn't go back to see that. I thought you meant
no argument.
And it's about DQ.
And if that's what Dwyer was talking about, depending on
it's not no contest, then it'll be a DQ. If that's what he's blaming for the back of the head shot, then that'd be classed as a DQ.
It would actually
go on.
It would actually be depending on whether they called the foul flagrant or not. If they just said he was in the process of going down, he was throwing a punch at the same time, then they could just maybe call a no contest on that. But they probably would have gone to the cards.
I didn't spot it, but a concerned fan spotted it in the audience. This guy at ringside noticed it all going.
That Eddie who said he was going to knock him spark out with a left hook. Evening, Eddie.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
Oh shit!
Oh hey, look who's in the background there. Heard J.K. Rowling's here there.
No, that's Helen Mirren. The
Oh,
Jason
Helen
Moloney
Mirren,
was
so it
fighting.
is. So it is.
Oh man, and I'll tell you what.
Steve Wellens sat there, bottom left-hand corner, put on a bit of weight there. Steve, you need to take it off after Christmas holidays, there, mate. Look at that. You're a bit chubby there, look, mate.
He's got more hair than me.
Yeah, well, apparently you have to consume more calories. Is that a trade you really want to make, Steve?
No.
So, the mention of Mirren and Moloney, that's a good segue here. I think I want to go into that fight next. Jason Moloney and Saul Sanchez putting in at what this point in time, I would have to say is the clubhouse leader for fight of the year. 12-round majority decision won by Moloney. I thought that it would be 115, 113 either way. Maybe I know, Steve. I know it's a round. But I just that one round in the scoring really bothers me there because I just can't see how either guy, won 8 rounds in that fight. I thought it was closely contested, a draw, 115, 113 either way, but it was tremendous action, Steve. Just body punches galore. I think they combined to land around 800 punches between the two of them last night. Both guys were hurt. No one went down. But just a hell of a great bantamweight affair last night. I truly enjoyed this one.
Yeah, it was a really good fight. I've been hit and miss with the Maloneys in the past. I know Tim Bradley was struggling to work out which one was which, even though Andrew was sitting at ringside.
They were both there. They were talking to one, watching one. It can, I get it. I get it.
Yeah, Bradley was taking a break from the usual woo, which he does every 5 minutes. But anyway, enough of that. Yeah, as for Sanchez, they bought him in because of his style. A few people were complaining beforehand, and probably rightly so. 2 fights ago, he lost to Eros Correa. And they were saying that Correa, who's had 2 wins himself since, possibly should have got the fight. Maybe so. They knew what Sanchez was bringing to the table. He's a come-forward pressure guy. He can punch. He had a great story. He's doing it for his family. Came from a rough background. I think his brother died and his dad was in prison, etc., etc.
He was 8 years old, and they got him in the anger management boxing program with the police department. Like, how fucked up do you have to be at an 8-year-old to be like, God damn it, we got to get this kid underneath the cops, or who knows what the fuck he's going to do. He needs some discipline.
Well said. Well, he was very disciplined last night. He did his best. He put everything into it. I think, surprisingly, even though he threw a lot of those windmill punches in the final minute to really try and turn the fight on its head, it was maybe just that bit of stamina, that bit of energy, that experience and nous that Moloney had at the right time, just to land the body shots, land the shots through the middle. That told the fight. And fair play to Moloney. He's going back to Australia still as the champion. As I said, he's been hit and miss in the past, but Sanchez came and gave it his all. Really well-matched fight. This is what a world title challenge should be all about. So, yeah, it was a good fight. And then obviously Mbilli was later on, but I enjoyed it, Matty, as well. Nathan Newman in the chat, he was saying what a good fight it was as well. I was sort of poo-pooing the fact that Top Rank was describing it as a modern classic earlier, but I mean, it was definitely a very, very good scrap.
Hagler Mugabe, Steve, Hagler Mugabe.
Yeah, I did see somebody comparing it to Hagler Mugabe, which it was a good fight, but I don't think that quite adds up, with the different circumstances and that. But each their own. If that's the way Matty wants to describe it, this gentleman, then it's up to him.
I thought Moloney lost, and there should be a rematch.
Ooh, there you go. Tell us more, Andy. I don't know where Matty's disappeared.
I was on mute, but
well, just as you unmute this, I'll just wait to start. So I'll just briefly state that it was a close fight. I did think Sanchez was, I'm not going to say a wide winner, but I thought he won it purely on the fact is both guys were landing shots, obviously, now, but I think the exclamation mark on some of those punches, visible effects that where Sanchez landed on the punches on Moloney, but the punches that Moloney was landing in return wasn't really having the same visible effect for me in terms of that. So I just think the better quality of shots was coming for Sanchez and probably just done enough to shade the fight. So that's the reason why I say maybe a rematch. And most of the comments I read as well, said Sanchez won. So I don't know.
Well, Andy, I had a fiver on Sanchez, and I thought he just nicked it. But I thought kind of differently from you. I thought that Moloney was landing oftentimes the more eye-catching work, but Sanchez oftentimes was just working more and was landing enough just to edge the rounds. Like there was a good number of swing rounds in there, Andy, and I could see it going either way. Obviously, I wanted Sanchez, so I could have gotten some of that 3-1 action, but it didn't happen. But I want a rematch too. I actually favor Moloney in the rematch just because I think he's a bit sharper, better boxing brain.
I'll definitely go back and watch it. As I said, I didn't really watch it too closely. There was a lot of action in that fight, to be fair. So I take it as well. You could swing the rounds, no doubt about it. But yeah, as I say, I think the styles did gel pretty well. And as I say, there's no doubt a rematch would probably be something similar as well. So I'm all done for that one. Like,
Des, let me ask you there. That fight, the problem with bantamweights is oftentimes they're just not big enough to knock over the other guy. Is that one of those fights where it took a couple of fights off of each guy's career?
Yes, but I think in particularly in Moloney's case, he's at the right age where you can afford to have that happen to him now. And he's been beaten by Inoue, he got beaten by Rodriguez. So I wasn't quite sure how it was gonna go down, but I was told the fight was worth watching. I watched it and the styles really did gel. I can see how people could have Sanchez winning. It was one of them fights, and you've only got to have 2 or 3 rounds go a certain way, and it's a big swing. I thought Moloney just nicked it. I'm pleased for him as well, because like I say, the other side of 30, he can afford to be in these type of fights now, because I don't know how long he's got left. And it does show there's life after a Inoue defeat, doesn't it?
As long as Inoue is not in the division and you're not trying for his championships.
Yes. Sometimes when a monster beats you, that can sometimes be an like, I'm not quite sure if they're going to recycle Smith. I'm not quite sure where Anthony Yard goes now. I'm not quite sure where after Deontay Wilder, where does Dominic Breezdale go? Sometimes when a big punch just puts you out, it can sometimes be the end of the road. So I'm kind of pleased in that respect that Moloney's come back and won a world title.
Absolutely. You got to give credit. You don't oftentimes see fighting brothers who are both capable. So fair play to them. If they do have a rematch, I'd kind of like to see it be in Australia. He is the champion. Why not bring it home? And they throw that one on the telly in Oz. I think you'll get a few more fans out of that for sure.
And to spin it another way, Matty, you asked a question. Do them sort of fights put a lot of miles on the clock? Yeah, perhaps they do, but they can do that again, and that's probably a payday they weren't expecting at this time of his career. So I think they could be good for each other.
Yeah, I think everybody's willing to see that dance again.
Dom, I think Desi's right, actually. I think see if that fight is in Australia, by the way, I think that would be quite a decent atmosphere. Actually, with those two styles, with that type of action, I think that gets the fans going. Like that, they would be well up for that one.
It could land on the Lomachenko Kambosos undercard, which has just been announced for May, I think.
No shit.
That's right, Matty. That's just been announced. Well, not formally, but it's pretty much as good as I think it's in May.
I highly favor Lomachenko in that fight. Think it's actually a fair bit of a mismatch.
It's at 135. Kambosos is dead at the weight, man.
Yeah, man.
Lomachenko's gonna have to follow the Maxi Hughes blueprint.
Yeah. But Dom, I'll tell you what, that fight, it would be fun to see again for sure. What did you think of the scoring? And what did you just think of the fight in general? That was a heck of a good fare for a Saturday night or a Sunday morning, as it may be.
Yes, it was a very good fight. And in general, the card itself, I thought just briefly was very, very good. On the scoring, I agree with what you said, Matty, that 116, 112 either way was out. I think 7-5 either way or a draw would have been legitimate. I actually thought Sanchez edged it. I was loving his uppercuts. He was throwing these beautiful uppercuts in between Moloney's punches, and they were catching him really nice. And but you couldn't, you can't. I can't argue with. I can't say it was one of those fights where you can genuinely understand it going the other way, but not 116, 112. 7-5, yes, maybe, but it definitely warrants a rematch. And it would be a great appetizer for Lomachenko Kambosos. But the other bits and pieces where Steve probably touched on it, Wilkins, Mathieu. I didn't see that, but I'm hoping to catch up with it. I don't think it was on the televised portion of the card. He won a decision. So I'm hoping to catch up on that in light of what Steve's been saying about him. The other fight, me and you were talking about it, was Mbilli, who was in against a insanely tough Aussie, another insanely tough Aussie, Rohan Murdoch. I felt it could have been stopped a few rounds earlier than it was. I was glad it was stopped when it was, but like you, I wasn't as impressed with Mbilli as some others. He's definitely exciting, but as we were saying, he tends to throw every single punch with the same force. He doesn't mix up it's sort of a pity because as I was saying, he does very well from head to body, but because every shot is the same force and the same tempo and everything, it sort of blunts the effect of the change of the switching between head and body. So he sort of undermined himself a bit, but I can't see Canelo fighting him, to be honest with you. I think Canelo has.
Nah, he'll drop the belts when he won't bother with him.
No, he won't bother with that. We'll be lucky if we get Canelo against Benavidez, but
Morel against Mbilli would be a good shootout until Morel caught him.
I think Morel would make a. I think Morel would. It would be because Mbilli's as tough as he is, Steve. He would hang about definitely, but
he'd look stupid. He would make him look stupid. The way he gets not only just the fact that all he throws is a fastball and he has no off-speed shit really. He gets very, very square when he's throwing against the ropes. A guy like Morel, who is calm under pressure and can find those openings, he's going to welcome him right in and he's going to pick him off.
Didn't Gongora hurt him with a shot like that at one point? I think Carlos Gongora hurt him, didn't he, on one of the Eye of the Tiger fights?
Possibly. Yeah, I think he was hurt in one of those fights, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm. Here, Matty, just in case I forget, actually, by the way, we learnt something during, I think it was Moloney Sanchez, ESPN giving us all the information here. Mark Nelson's middle name is Gustav, apparently. So I thought that was quite interesting information for you there, Matty. Not really sure why they put that up.
That kind of stands out like a store thumb in that fucking name there. Mark Gustav Nelson.
Never seen that before, have you?
Yeah. I'm 1/3 Czechoslovakian, and just the rest it's just fucking plain Jane British Isles.
There you are.
Yeah, interesting enough. Yeah, I would like to know more of these things and potentially social security numbers as well. That's all the information you can, right?
Well, you do get some information, Matty. We know so.
So yeah, I'm downloading the data, Steve. Downloading the data. So that and honestly, I don't know. Des, what are your thoughts on Mbilli? You have a pretty good boxing brain. Are Dom and I being a bit too harsh on him, or we may be ahead of the curve in picking out somebody who's just waiting to get picked off?
He's not done much wrong at the moment, is he, Mbilli? And something, I mean, Dominic said that Moloney and Sanchez could find themselves in Australia. But with what they're doing in Saudi at the moment, trying to pull in as many corners of the world in and trying to attract as many eyes as they can on their product, don't be surprised if you see Mbilli, who represents France, which is quite unique in itself, having a boxer from France, and Moloney, who's an exciting world champion from Australia. They've got a uniqueness about them guys. Don't be surprised if they're in the right place at the right time and they find themselves boxing in Saudi as well. That could possibly happen for them.
Des, with the money they're throwing around, I wouldn't be surprised even if any of us on this podcast ended up boxing in Saudi Arabia. I think all things are possible.
Well, there's a uniqueness about them guys, isn't there? I mean, we know that the big players in boxing, whether it's America, South America, Europe, but these guys offer quite a uniqueness because France doesn't have many exciting, tough world champions. Australia don't have many world champions, but when they do have a champion, they're normally very exciting. So I wouldn't be surprised if they are pulled in to the Saudi thing, and that'd be good for them. And it kind of goes back to what you asked me earlier. Sometimes you can just be in the right place at the right time, and this could be their moment. This could be their honeymoon period in boxing, if you like, their second go at it. You asked me about Mbilli. I don't know an awful lot about him. I like the kid. I like his style. He will get caught out. He will have to polish it up a little bit. But sometimes we want an awful lot from fighters, don't we? Now, he's an exciting fighter. He's a puncher. He's got a good record. It's quite unique having that type of fighter from France. I think we should probably just enjoy Mbilli until someone catches him out. But I don't quite know if we're going to see a better version of Mbilli now. I think this is what you're going to get. And that's not to say that he's a bad fighter. It's just we might be trying too hard to make him something he's not.
I think that's fair.
I think the problem with a lot of with boxing fans in general, I mean, and there are people that just get into the hardcore science of it, love to just see guys box for 12 rounds, cutting angles and shit. But a lot of people just really want to see people go in there, throwing a lot of punches, throwing hard. They want to see shootouts. I think we all do, while still respecting, the sweet science of it. So a guy like Mbilli, obviously people are going to want him to do well because they're going to want to see fights like that. They're going to want to see somebody that's throws the way that he does. He's a freaking machine. But unfortunately, as we know, I mean, there's a lot of risk that goes into that. You'll probably get caught. And fighters that fight like that generally have a pretty short shelf life as well.
And I think, Matty, I agree with everything you just said. But something we don't hear a lot of anymore, and something perhaps has maybe taken a back seat in boxing, is the importance of matchmaking. And perhaps in the 80s, when you had a Mbilli, you'd have got him selling tickets, you'd have got him attached to a network. France has got a big population, and you'd have navigated him for 8 or 9 fights and then got him the real big one. And if he gets beat, he gets beat. But kids like Mbilli need to be navigated. So I think matchmaking is important, as is timing.
See, the fight that I would really like to see at 168 is Mbilli against Benavidez. I think that they're just, it's entirely complementary. And even though I can see each fighter doing well for their own reasons in other fights at the top of the division, I don't think that they necessarily have what it takes to exploit the other one so much, as it will just be a blend of styles and who folds first.
Yeah, I put Benavidez a level above Mbilli from what I've seen at the moment, and probably, Matty, that's your fans' head talking, not speaking for you, but that might be your fans with your fan hat on. But if I was managing Mbilli, I'd probably keep him in. I'd do what Warren did with Calzaghe to a degree. I'd keep him in France. I'd sell that product, and then I'd probably take him over to America. And if Benavidez is to coin Terry Lawless, and when with Jimmy Mack fighting Barry McGuigan, let Benavidez go and do his thing, and maybe we'll catch him in 8 or 9 fights when he's on the way down. That's probably the way I'd handle Mbilli at the moment. I'm not quite sure I'd let him off the leash in America just yet, for the obvious flaws in his style.
I think that fight would end up being at 175 if it's that many fights down the road. I don't see Benavidez being at 168 after this year, honestly.
Oh, I don't know.
He is a big boy for the weight. It's funny you mentioned Calzaghe in there. Steve, let me throw this to you. A name was thrown out there as a comparison to Mbilli, and I thought about it for a second. I'm like, fuck. I think they might be right. That's pretty fair. And that was a person who Joe Calzaghe destroyed and basically ruined his career. That person being Jeff Left Hook Lacey.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Tucker Pudwell there, Matty.
I thought at first he was going to say Calzaghe himself. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to defend this one, but no, you are quite right. Tim Bradley mentioned it, didn't he? And when he said it, I thought exactly the same, but naturally I'd forgotten since then. The Lacey comparison is really good, and he wants to hope that his career trajectory doesn't go the same sort of route as Lacey. Of course, he was dominated by Calzaghe, and then in his next fight, a lot of people seem to forget, he went over back to America, fought a guy called Vitaly Sipko, who was a Ukrainian based in Germany, who arguably beat him as well, and he managed to get away with one. And we thought, oh, Lacey's back on the train again. His career just completely dipped after that. I think the comparison, Matty, the come forward, strength, pressure fighter, dominating people. Lacey was icing people as well, wasn't he? Especially with that left hand. Remember what he did to the likes of Scott Pemberton and Robin Reed, and people. A lot of people were then picking him to beat Kawasaki, obviously, off the back of those wins, looking really impressive, dominating people with knockouts. And the Mbilli comparison, I thought that was actually a really good comparison.
And, to be fair to Jeff, I think his career might have been better if they would have stopped that fight around the 8th or 9th round. That fight going the distance was fucking senseless, to be honest.
Yeah, I suppose in hindsight it was. But Matty, I just have a couple of things just before we close there, because you know what I'm like. We are sort of lurching into Bellew the Week territory with these, but I'll forget otherwise, because I forget things very easily. But I noticed Tone was tweeting away, which we will get to in Bellew the Week, going on about Beterbiev. He suddenly started doing this to people, he says. Even though I would counter, he's been doing this, he turned pro 10 years ago at the age of 28. How come nobody else has been able to do this to Callum Smith? I think it was Tone or somebody else said this as well. And I thought to myself, well, Castillo, Borderleek, Holskin and company, they're not exactly Beterbievs, are they? This is an absolute elite beast. But mainly, Matty, the one thing I wanted to mention was for the drug issue, it goes over my head, a lot of this drug-related talk. And I like to bring things down to the lowest common denominator, so which us thickos can understand. And Victor Conte was talking to Lukey Boxing earlier today, and I know he's not the beacon of truth, Conte. We have a lot of problems with him, myself included, but he was explaining to do with the testosterone and estrogen, and I thought he gave quite a good layman's terms explanation that we could all get on board with, so I've cut this here for us to listen to now.
Let me give it a specific example with testosterone. Testosterone is produced during the second 4 hours of sleep, the great majority. This is why guys wake up in the morning with a woody. This is the reason your testosterone level is 50% higher in the morning than it is in the evening.
They are, Matt. I thought
that's well known, of course. The whole morning ride. You know what I'm saying? But see,
it makes me miss my 20s when there could be fucking rides all day long like a good carnival.
I want to weigh in just a couple of comments here. Now, obviously, as well, we know why it's cropped up in terms of, like, say, he needs more investigation in there. I'm not claiming that he hasn't done it. I mean, we've spoke about drugs in this podcast for years. Anything's possible. If you're not using it to maintain, then you're using it to get recovery or things of that ilk. One thing I did look into actually as well is, and not many people have actually mentioned it, obviously the Billy Brits wouldn't cheat, of course, the Billy Brits and the Dougal Islands, they're upstanding guys in the boxing community, they wouldn't cheat. You know what I'm saying? No, they guys that, you know the ones that I'm talking about, the guys that you see Tony Bellew coming out to kind of like, big up and protect, guys like Kid Galahad and Billy Joe Saunders, not that type of lad, mates, and the Conor Ben, not that type of lad, not that type of stuff and that, right? So Beterbiev, according to Tony, though, is a blatant cheater. But one thing I wanted to mention actually as well is not many people have mentioned it, or if anybody's even thought about it. But this guy, Beterbiev, recently had jaw surgery, I believe, to get an abscess taken out his mouth. Bone infection, I think, was mentioned by John Scully, who's in his corner.
Blood in the bone and all sorts of things.
Bone, surgery required. Now, I'm just speculating here, right? I don't know what drugs they use at surgery and that type of stuff and that, but just maybe, something along those lines. You know what I'm saying? But I believe he was tested under blood and urine, and this has caused further investigation, or needs further investigation. But it did state what they was tested for, or what he supposedly was meant to test it positive for, if that makes sense, is it's naturally occurring in the body.
Well, and that's why they have B samples too, right? And
true, but as I say, it's not a full test as such. It just says it warrants further investigation. Now, it says it could easily be, look, as it says, we've got Conor Ben out there trying to blame bloody hen's eggs, right? We've got testing these days that's so sensitive. Like you've got fighters like John Jones, you also got using pictograms as like it's like I don't know how small that is again, but it's like minuscule, very minuscule.
Well, people need to think about it, and that's the tough thing when it comes to like this like level of stuff in your body. So you're talking like acceptable range is, between these certain numbers. So anything that's an abnormal finding is anything outside of that numbers. And that means if it's by 0.0000001 or if it's by 0.01, which is meaningful.
we're allowing Mexican fighters to test positive to a certain level with clenbuterol because their meat is contaminated with the stuff.
Just full of it. Yep.
It's
And
just, you
there's
know what I'm
also
saying?
there's antibiotics in all this meat that we consume and shit like that. There's all sorts of ways you can have abnormal findings. You know, it's I don't know.
Aye. No, listen, I'm not saying that. Honestly, I'm not naive to say, look, he is absolutely no juicing. Of course, it's a possibility. But the way people are kind of going on here is, oh, he's never done that. Maybe he's done that to Callum Smith. You know, he's knocking guys out, and I can understand maybe high testosterone levels at an elevated age. But again, we don't know what parameters, we don't know what levels we're talking about here as well. So unless that's produced, we don't know. But what is clear is this: Beterbiev isn't stacked up. Doesn't seem to be more stacked up fight upon fight. He doesn't fight at a pace that it's like fucking hell. He's going to gas out anytime soon. If he doesn't, he'll not press a knockout. He will happily chip away at you till he breaks you down and that type of stuff, and then that's the end of it. So what he did there last night against Callum Smith was exactly how he normally fights. Exactly how he normally fights. He's usually at the same pace, other than the fact as Dominic says, he started the fight a wee bit earlier. Just to put a statement on, say, Callum Smith, you're a banging baller tonight for all your talk, right? Eddie Hearn coming out talking about that guy needs to shut his mouth about any drug testing involving any other fight that's not involved in his stable, right? This is a guy who had been running about the doors trying to get Conor Ben a fucking fight, and he still hasn't fought yet in the UK. So let's just leave Eddie right out of this right away. I mean, that guy's got no credibility talking about anything to do with drugs and that type of stuff and that as well. This guy hasn't failed a test as such, but other than that, it warrants further investigation. As I says, I'm no stupid enough to say that he hasn't been cheating, but there is factor in the surgery, the bone infection to his jaw, the abscess, and then the subsequent surgery, maybe the drugs and antibiotics he was given after that, or take Vinter-Corti's excuse.
Just keep the same energy. If you're following the evidence, if you're following the evidence on every case, then do the same for each individual.
Do the same
case.
diligence, exactly. Canelo did the hair sample. You've got Conor Ben trying to find where the eggs come from, right? So this guy's been through.
He'll find that hen one of these days.
But then, as I say, you've got Eddie Hearn and all these people coming out claiming this, that, and the next thing. Now, I agree, full transparency. But wait a minute here. When Eddie says full transparency, I hear a name, Oscar Rivas, asking for full transparency. Eddie, remember that one, pal?
He's not stupid, Eddie. As soon as he heard about this, he knew a narrative could be built. He could subtly shift it back to Conor and etc. He knew that.
He's no stupid, but come on, man, he's dishonest at best. And as I say, it's the Billy Brits when they cheat, the Dougal Islands when they cheat. It's always Johnny Foreigner. It's always fucking foreigners that the cheaters.
So the Dr. FMG pops in there, and again, and he is the doctor. Actually, he says a picogram is 1 trillionth of a gram. And I know none of these things, but I can understand where he's coming from. And for me to translate this for all of us, just normal people out there, that is saying that after you bust up some cocaine on your table and you scoop it all up, there's like maybe a fucking speck of fucking dust there that is not seen by the human eye.
I was thinking
we're not talking,
that's how thick I am.
We're not talking a nummy here, ladies and gentlemen. It's a picogram.
That's what John Jones apparently put when his last drug test he tested positive for. That's what John Jones was apparently was a pictogram or picogram, if he pronounce it. And they even then says it could have been caused. When you hear this one, a pulsing effect. So basically, as your system stores not the drug itself, but like your body absorbs it, and then something releases that into your system, and that wee picogram somehow gets in your bloodstream and you test positive for it, and they could easily lay the blame on previous drug use. That's where they're going at these days with this type of drug test. And it says the sensitivity of drug tests these days and that as well was calling everything into question as well.
And I think we can put a bit of context on this as well. Look, we spoke about how good Beterbiev is. 2 Olympics, got beaten by 2 eventual gold medalists. He's won the Worlds. He's won 2 Europeans. He won the World Cup. This guy's as good as any amateur we've seen in the last 50 years, wherever they come from in the world. And his last 4 fights, he's beaten Callum Smith, who, let's be fair, the best win he's got to his name, without an asterisk, is Rocky Fielding. Anthony Yard, whose best win is Lyndon Arthur, Joe Smith Jr., and Marcus Brown. So, is it reasonable to say that the quality of Beterbiev should be doing this to these guys. And have we been gaslighted by Sky Sports and promoters and teammates and boxers from Liverpool and everybody jumping on the bandwagon that we've seen the last 7 days that Callum Smith really got a chance here? Because most boxing people I know, and I know a few, didn't give Callum Smith a prayer. So there's a little bit of context here. We're so enamored and so amazed at Beterbiev, but perhaps he should be looking like this against this type of fighter. How we look against Bivol, that'd be the bigger question, I think.
Well, I think this is just the opportune moment to just build on what Des has said there about what we've been subjected to this past week. I know Steve will probably flesh it out a bit more in the Bellews, but some of the in fairness to the eminent screes of the Asylum pod, Ben Faruqi, he actually got back to me on this during the week when I pulled him up on the sort of industry predictions package that the Boxing News YouTube channel puts out. And it was just basically a compilation of Callum Smith's, his brothers, his promoter, his own trainer, and what are they going to say? They're not going to say anything other than Smith's going to win the fight. But that was okay. But there was another one later in the week, a sort of a written piece on the Boxing News website, and I'm just looking at it here now. It was put up by Sean Brown, Scottish boxing writer, and he polled 41 UK boxing figures. And of the 41 respondents, 27 picked Smith to win, and only 14 picked Beterbiev to win.
Please name the Smith pickers.
Well, I'll name the Smith. Well, what I'll do, Andy, I'll pick some really people I would really respect. People like Carl Greaves, who I would really, some sort of really people that most of us would really put a lot of store by what they have to say. But what I'll do is I'll read out.
Scottish Master Bruce, is he on that list, mate?
He is. Well, he was on it. He was on it. He tipped Smith to win. But like here's one.
Nunchucks.
I'll read out one or two just to give you a sample of them. So you've got Jamie Conlon. I really think Callum Smith wins by KO. It could be a real shootout that doesn't go past 6 rounds. Beterbiev has scurry power, but time waits for no man, and this could be the perfect timing. Callum is tall and can expose the openings of Beterbiev when he's coming forward. It could be a case of whoever lands first. Most of them were fighters, but there was some. Let me read it out here. Gary Lockett. Boxing is about timing, and I think maybe we're starting to see some cracks appear with Beterbiev. Callum has been on the verge of something big for years now. He's world class, and the move up in weight has benefited him. Beterbiev is a huge puncher and a fearsome fighter, but I think the time is right for Callum to fulfill his potential and rip the titles away. Callum Smith by stoppage. I mean, it's all wishful thinking. Here's Carl Greaves. Beterbiev is a formidable champ, but he is starting to look vulnerable, and I think he's ready for the taking. Callum is a different fighter at light heavyweight. Based on what? Artur is still very dangerous with KO power in both hands, and Callum has to box clever and make no mistakes. But I think he's going to cause an upset and stop Beterbiev late. I mean, I could go on, but that's even the people who were sort of grudgingly saying Beterbiev would win. They were attributing qualities to Smith that I just don't know where they get this stuff from. But it was quite surreal as the week went on. It just got more and more, hard.
Wild. I mean, Smith's career highlight KO is against that guy. Was it Castillo? Left hook. The same punch he landed on Beterbiev last night. Beterbiev never even saw the punch coming, and he swallowed it up, and he didn't even budge from it, by the way. So there's the difference. It's who you're fighting. That's the difference. The guy could take a shot.
Exactly. The difference in quality. Yeah, he done that to Castillo, but Castillo and Beterbiev are levels apart. Although, didn't Castillo go the 12? Did he do the 12 with Bivol? I think he might have done it.
No. well, yes, yeah. Well, that's I suppose that's Bivol, but he has that he has that way of fighting. But I mean, even if you look at the narrative about Beterbiev having been knocked down twice, now that was cited frequently by people who were tipping Smith to win. But I mean, you have to look at someone like Callum Johnson now. In my opinion, Callum Johnson is a heavier-handed fighter than heavier-handed puncher than Callum Smith. I mean, if you watch that Beterbiev Callum Johnson fight back, an underrated shootout, Johnson, he might be quite limited in other respects, but he's a legit puncher, and not only that, but if you want to have a chance of doing that with Beterbiev, you have to really be aggressive. You have to want to punch. As Des was saying, Smith was put into a position where he was having to punch when he didn't want to punch. If you want to sort of put a dent in someone like Beterbiev, I think you have to, unless you're as good a boxer as a Bivol, you have to actually want to stand there and engage, not be forced to engage, which Callum Johnson did. Callum Johnson was right there on the shootout, so it was just surreal. I mean, Bunce and Richie Woodall started it off at the start of the week on 5 Live. Just ridiculous stuff. And it's sort of like, a lot of these people, you look at them and you're sort of thinking, are you really so scared of Smig and Liam Smith that you're too scared to honestly say what your opinion is, or are you actually believe the stuff that you're saying?
It's a fair point, actually. You're like, is it all about access? Are you scared to really just speak your mind and just give a truthful pick? I mean, okay, I know it's only just a pick at the end of the day, but seriously, man, I mean, I don't think anybody in this podcast picked Smith last week. I can't remember what the picks were, to be fair, but I think everybody overwhelmingly picked Beterbiev, but everybody's just...
Where does this all come from? Because, Andy, no one picked Kell Brook against Triple G, or no one thought Khan would beat Canelo. Going back, I remember, if you ask 10 experts, 7 of them thought Mayweather would beat Hatton. So where's this level of sensitivity come from? And I mean sensitivity because you got trainers on the outside looking in, you got fighters wanting to get work, you got people sniffing around the sport, desperate to get any type of job. They'll say anything, write anything, put themselves up the front and promote anything. And whatever happened to someone saying, I think Smith's got it all to do? Whatever happened to someone just saying that?
It's another example of nationalism being stupid.
Big shout out to Duke McKenzie, one of the few people. Ring Magazine, actually, to give them their credit, they put out a similar compilation earlier in the week, and but the thing was, they were all American boxing writers, so that's the difference. Another big shout out. Not that I'm not saying this because Ben Fergie is a friend of the pod, but the Boxing News podcast with Rob Tebbett, Barry Jones, and Andy Clark, they were admirably honest about it. I mean, they basically said it. Andy Clark basically referenced speaking to the top rank high brass a few months ago and talking about the top ranked people asking him what's Callum Smith done, and Andy Clark saying, well, he beat George Groves, and they're just the top ranked people turned around and said, and what? And so what? What does that mean for this fight? So it's but the Ring Magazine compilation of predictions was a lot more that was more on the money, and Duke McKenzie, his prediction was in that, and he was very, very honest. You could tell he wasn't on
the TV anymore in the UK.
Yeah, well, it's just me mentioning about Duke McKenzie, and obviously just what Des was mentioning as well. Like, nobody's really kind of like willing to just go against the grain. Basically, I remember the night when Barry McGuigan was. I know he's not popular in that, but calling it as you've seen it, the night that Michael Watson fought Errol Christie. Right? Errol Christie came out the amateurs, and he, my God, was one of the greatest amateurs the Britain had produced at that point, right? And he was expected to turn over and be the man, and he wasn't. He got iced very early in his pro career. His career was really hanging by a thread, and during his ring walk, McGuigan is basically slaughtering him all the way to the ring, and that, saying this is his last chance. If he doesn't get it right the night, he should retire and go home and all that type of stuff. And it got done in 4 or 5 rounds, and that was the end of Errol Christie. But It's like everybody.
Andy,
I just get this opinion. It's like he's back the Brit.
That was objectivity, wasn't it? That's what we want our broadcasters to do: be objective and inform us, not gaslight us. I put something on the chat in the week, and it was Crawford Ashley against Michael Nunn, and I said, just listen to the first 3 minutes. And Reg Gutridge and Jim Watt, the theme was, as good as Crawford Ashley's been over here, British title, European title, he's got it all to do because Michael Nunn is special, and we give our kid a slim chance to Nunn. Whatever happened to being honest with a listener? Whatever happened to a bit of objectivity? Because from objectivity, you'll get balance, and you might have an informed opinion. And like what we've heard in the last week, it's been from the sublime to the ridiculous.
People who should know better and have Bunce
Should
coming
know
out
better.
shortly as well.
Yeah.
Bunce as well with his knowledge of the sport, and he is very knowledgeable about the sport and that. But he'll come out with Bunce's bingo, with the after timer comments, and all this type of stuff.
That's what's so frustrating about Bunce.
Exactly.
It's impossible.
Exactly.
It's impossible to believe that he doesn't know better, and yet he's still coming.
It's ridiculous. Sorry, guys. It's ridiculous. I'm glad I came on at just this time, by the way, because this was fucking boiling me this morning. Who the fuck outside of England, Liverpool, the Direct Camp, and a couple of fucking Vox Pop YouTube boxing fucking nomads had a thought that Callum Smith was going to beat Beterbiev? Fuck off, man. Based on what? And not just beat him, by the way. Knock him out. Knock him out within 6. It was the most ridiculous fucking prediction of all time. I couldn't fucking believe people were swallowing it that big and actually giving Callum Smith a chance in the fight. What the fuck did he ever show in his career to show that he could fucking deal with Beterbiev? Nothing.
So, Rob, to ask you a question.
Music's an average southpaw.
So Rob, to ask you a question. So why did Eddie Hearn... Now, and we're not saying these guys are just saying, well, our lad's got a chance. The guys I'm going to mention went out and said, Callum does it. Callum beats him. Eddie Hearn said that.
Well,
Tony
Hearn
Bellew,
has
Matt
to say
Matthews said it. Natasha Jonas said it. Billy Nelson said it.
Yeah, we give Hearn a pass because he's the promoter. He has to sell the fight. We get it. He has to get people to believe that Smith has a chance. But that's his job. He's never going to come out and go, well, look, he's up against it here. You know what I mean? He just doesn't do that.
He has no stake in the other fighter either. What the fuck is he going to say?
The rest of them, I agree with you. Like reputable guys who are supposed to be reputable, fucking
really knowledgeable guys that have been around boxing a long time that understand the levels involved. I mean, Tony Bellew, he understands levels. Matthew Macklin understands. They've been in with brilliant fighters. Matthew Macklin's been in with some really good fighters. He knows all about levels. Like, if Matthew Macklin said, I'm finding this difficult because I know the kid, I know his family. I'm going to have to support him, but he's got it all to do. That's I get that. But
it's almost as if
somebody do it.
It's almost as if some sinister character behind the scenes has sent out a broadcast message and told everybody to come up with the same line of thinking.
On Telegram.
Yeah, but what type of mate would you be, though? What type of mate would you be if you say to listen, hey, Rob, by the way, you've got Beterbiev, mate. Fucking easy work, mate. Get in there and fucking sort it out.
I'll put it down
back, I'm like that, man. Rest in peace, mate. Rest in peace.
But this is why
mate.
But this is why people like us, people that have the same kind of, well, for a million reasons, people like us don't make it to the mainstream. But, Andy Lee was my mate. He gave me a lot of fucking good time over the years with Manny and all that. And, fucking made time for me when he didn't have to and brought me into the camp loads of times. Like, and it was like fucking dream come true shit. But when he was signed to fight Golovkin, I wouldn't have come out and said, Andy is definitely going to knock out Golovkin. I would have said he had a puncher's chance, but Golovkin would have been the favourite. That's it. Like, what can you do? You have to fucking call it like it is. You know what I'm saying? It's like fucking, I don't understand what benefit is that to the fight. Do you understand what benefit is that to the fighter? Because it's like, it's false praise and it's false hope. It doesn't mean anything. Like, it's just blowing smoke up his fucking ass. Like, Callum Smith, the knockout Beterbiev in under 6. This is what I was hearing all week from fucking. It's like I hadn't heard such delusions since fucking.
Knock him spark out. Not the knock him out, spark out.
There wasn't
that as well.
I hadn't heard this levels of delusion since fucking Badil and Skinner came out in '96 with It's Coming Home, and you all fell for that one. Like, I can't fucking believe they went for fucking Callum Smith versus Beterbiev. Jesus Christ.
Andy, to be fair though, Eddie was on the fence. So you sent me the clip earlier, and he wasn't really sure. Splinters in the arse. Let's have a listen.
Yep. Call him, John.
Callum Smith is going to knock Beterbiev spark out, right? Like a face down knockout. No, well, listen. You're not being very brave because Beterbiev's the favourite. But see this now. Sometimes you see it, right? and he's going to be up against the rope, and Beterbiev's going to come in like he does, he's going to square up his feet, and Callum's going to do what he does best, which is counter with the left hook, one punch knockout.
See, that worries me.
He caught me with a left hook and it done fucking nothing. Nothing.
Oh my god, that's hilarious. Catch and counter. He did the mime as well, which was fucking really good. That was good form from Eddie there. Fucking the high guard from Eddie. He must be training with George Z.
How can we have that from one of the country's leading promoter? And they now flip flop the other way. So he's now this morning telling everyone Beterbiev is an amazing fighter, and judging on last night's performance, he's a special talent.
He's not human. He's not human,
which is a veiled way. You know what he's referring to.
He's digging at him there,
yeah.
He's having a pop at him, and you think like, is there? I think Rob might have. No, Rob said it tongue in cheek, but I think he's got a point. There's an agenda here. There's a memo gone out. People are being told what hat to wear, what to say, what not to say, because look. We're all boxing people. We've been Annie just pulled up Errol Christie and Michael Watson, which is knowledge. We've been around a long time. But there's a lot of people coming into the sport. There's a lot of people casually watching it. They're going to be gaslit by all this.
Well,
yeah, I mean, Eddie, I don't give a Eddie would say Eddie. We've fucking seen this before. Wasn't it Rocky Fielding was going to knock out Canelo as well? Wasn't that when you see that one? He could say anything like that's. It's not really the promoters that bother me as much. It's more when you get the ex-fighters and the trainers.
No, that's a good point.
Eddie can sell alcohol to the Saudis, by the way. Easy work.
I think what they said about Matt Macklin is that's the prime example. There's a guy who was in with a similar type of fighter, Golovkin. He knows all about Sergio Martinez. He was in with a prime Sergio Martinez. He knows what it's all about, levels. And all he had to do was say, he's up against it. It's a big ask. It's just infantilizing the viewer, like just treating us like kids.
Funny enough, I hate to pick apart your statement, but I think that Sergio Martinez was kind of fighting chumps during his prime. I don't think what we saw in his championship reign was. I don't think during his championship reign was his prime. That's what I'm saying.
You think he was over the hill by then?
I think he was. I think by the time
sliding over the hill. Sorry.
I think when
but he was still a dangerous bastard. The point still stands. Wasn't he? He's knocking everyone bandy like.
Bellew the week for Dominic. I'm with you, Matter.
I think he might. I think Serge might have hit his peak when he dropped Alex Bunima like 5 times, or maybe the Zurich fight.
That was Patrick's Day, the Macklin fight, wasn't it?
Patrick's Day 11, wasn't it, Rob?
Oh, I just after getting a flashback to where I was watching that one. Fucking hell. Times have changed. Jesus. Good times. We wish Sergio well.
Apparently he was thinking about actually retiring after that fight with that German fell through. So I can hopefully, Jesus Christ.
He's just going to fight with no legs in a kind of no leg boxing championship eventually, isn't he? Like he's got fucking one bandy leg as it is. Like maybe him and fucking smaller Benavidez can fight it out on fucking one leg each, like just pirates.
Or Chavez can push him into the ring on a wheelchair.
Or he can take up, I would say you can take up wheelchair basketball. There's all sorts of options for an athletic guy later in life, Don't let the laws of convention hold you back there, Serge. But anyways, that was a pretty fun card there last night from Eye of the Tiger from Canada. We definitely enjoyed the heck out of that one. Let's see here. I didn't get a chance to make the poll, sadly. I've been moving my girlfriend into my house over the last few weeks, plus the holidays.
Making a different kind of poll.
Polls up.
Fucking hell, man.
I know. Yeah, like life as we know it is over. But anyways,
she agreed to it.
What's? Oh yeah, she came into.
He's going to let her out any day.
No, he's going to deflate it at any time now.
Anyhow.
By the way, mate, can I just say something? You better make sure you claim your space immediately, by the way, because she's going to take over the entire wardrobe, the bathroom, the fucking lot. Before you kill me out, you're left with a fucking a wee drawer with your socks and pants in it.
You're fucking dropping the ball, man. Listen, the future, the world is changing. AI, give it 6 months, they're going to have an AI sex robot. You can have a mute button on it, microwave in the stomach, hoover in the leg. You never fucking, do you know what I mean?
I don't want a sex robot. That sounds fucking totally
It's the same
dystopian.
shit as a fucking AI. It has fucking, it can talk to you and all. Feel like a real,
you won't even need to talk to it, mate.
Just one-off payment. That's it. You don't have
Just
to
type a
take
prompt
it
into
out.
it every now and again.
I don't even have one of those fucking fake vaginas that fucking pump your dong that people.
You're living in the
left
fucking
and
Stone
right.
Age, dog. You're living in the Stone Age. Get with the Matrix.
Just get some Vaseline for that, mate. You get a cushion for the pushing.
Fucking, this is what all these fucking people have fought and died for you to just jerk off with your hand? Jesus Christ, what a
Matty,
world.
I've got one thing to say to you.
Saul Canelo Alvarez.
Canelo.
Why does he sound like a fucking half-assed Jamaican trying to speak Spanish? That was
Yeah, I got another one for you. Hang on.
Quebec City.
My name is
The
God.
Pink Panther guy.
Oh, hey, Spectacluso.
We're going to Canada.
Sam Jones.
Oh, fucking
Sam
Antoine the
Jones jumping out the
Cannonator.
cupboard trying to attack him.
Rapido. Oh.
I just want to see him go to China or Japan or something like that. Let's see what's going on with that, Gad. Pulling for you every day, buddy. But
So see, he's pulling at his hell every day.
anyhow, I didn't get to actually make the polls, but guys, I'm kind of wondering your thoughts on fight of the year and things of that nature of the last year. And we got a pretty full panel right here, so I think it's a worthy discussion.
Yeah, fuck's sake. I only said it was going to be an hour late, lads. Jesus Christ. Fucking replace me with two lads. Fuck me.
Yeah, exactly. And, but we're doing it equitably. It's not like we kicked out an Irishman and like added a Swede or anything like that. Everybody's represented.
Otto Volume was busy.
We brought Joe Kennedy in for him last week in a substitution.
Yeah, absolutely.
They brought the fucking the B team in last week. Oh, that's a joke.
Anyhow, but I'm wondering. So let's start with. I'm thinking. Let's start with fight of the year, and I've seen Espinosa Ramirez win on some. I've seen Crazy A versus Luis Neri win on some. I've seen Navarrete and Wilson. I still go with Navarrete and Wilson. I enjoyed the heck out of that fight. Andy, where are you leaning on that one?
Fight of the year. Lara against Wood was excellent. Really liked that one. And Neri against Azat was really good. But
Lara against Wood, wasn't that the 12-round decision if they fought this last year?
No, that was aye. That was
no,
a
that
good
was
fight.
20. I think
it was a
no, I
knockout
think
one.
I think you're thinking of 2022.
Was it no early? It was early on in 23, was it no?
Was it?
No January?
No, I
check that for me. If no, then.
Well, now you got me all confused. Keep talking. I'm going to Google
that one just now. Aye. So Ramirez against Espinosa was obviously a late one as well. I'm just trying to think about anything else actually in terms of
Good shout on
marquee fighters. On you go.
Jaime Munguia against Derevyanchenko.
That was a good fight. Good scrap, yeah.
I'll tell you a story about it. Actually, it was the same night as Josh Taylor against Teofimo. And it started first 4 or 5 rounds, but it happened. And Taylor Lopez was starting while the Munguia fight was in the 5th, 6th round. And I couldn't leave it. It was so good. I had to keep watching it. I went back and watched the Taylor fight, undelayed. But that was a very good fight.
You're right, Andy.
Lara won in the 7th round.
You're absolutely correct on that. So, and it's funny because looking back, so February would have been the month of the year because Wilson Navarrete, Wood versus Lara, and also Crazy A versus Luis Neri were all in February of last year.
It was a fairly stinking year for fights of the year candidates, really, wasn't it? There was a couple of decent ones in there, but
there
no
was
classics.
There was nothing really. Nothing really. I've noticed, Matt, as well. The Ring magazines have they announced their fight of the year yet? I was checking the other week there, and it's not.
announcing stuff today, weren't they?
Yeah, it was announced today. I'll try and find it here. It was.
Let us know because I like to usually kind of keep the old archive up to date. Eh?
Yeah, I think they did. I think someone posted a screenshot of something, and I think Fighter of the Year was Inoue. Upset of the year was Espinosa over Ramirez.
Really?
I think Performance of the Year. They do this category Performance of the Year, and that was Crawford against Spence. And they give.
I like that category.
They give
once a year,
They give Womack Trainer of the Year, then someone says when he's in jail half the time.
I mean, upset of the year, you could probably say Lopez against Taylor.
No, that was almost a 50-50 fight with the books. I only got like
Right,
three.
okay.
I only got 3-2.
Shaki Foster against Ray Vargas.
Yeah, Foster.
That was a pretty big one.
Carlos Takam against Tony Yoka.
I think was Bacoli versus was Bacoli and Yoka last year? That was
no, it was a year after.
Pretty wide.
They give fight of the year to Neri versus Hovhannissian.
Is that Hovhannissian? Is that who they give it to?
Yeah, fight of the year. Knockout of the year was Nakatani. 12th round against Moloney.
That uppercut.
Upset of the year was Espinosa against Ribisi.
And he was paying 10-1. That's probably, I mean, if you look at it by the odds, 10-1 was Espinosa.
Round of the year was the 11th round of Oshaki Foster against Hernandez.
I couldn't think of anything else off the top of my head. I thought really
Oshaki Foster's my fighter of the year. He was brilliant last year.
That's a worthy shout.
Big fan of Oshaki myself. Event of the year, the Day of Reckoning. Steve will be happy to hear that.
Mm-hmm. Our 5-hour pod was the event of the year, I think.
Comeback of the year, Joseph Parker.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even know that was a category.
Him or AJ?
Didn't Lee Wood beat Lara? I thought that was a brick. Didn't Lee Wood get off the floor to win that one?
Yeah, that's right. That sort of one of the criticisms of these awards. I saw someone mention that it was too sort of too American centric and sort of not that they sort of neglect what goes on in the UK.
Yeah. I think Lee Wood turning that fight around was a brilliant result.
Lee Wood got knocked out in the one where he won the decision in the next fight in May.
What was the one where he got off the floor? And he stopped the kid in about 5 or 6. No, it wasn't Conlon. It was
that was Warrington.
Warrington.
So he boxed Lara. There was another unorthodox Mexican he boxed as well. Wasn't
Same guy. He boxed Lara twice. He got knocked out by Lara in February, won the decision in May or June, and then Warrington victory in October or November, whatever.
Right, I'm getting my fighters mixed up.
Dude, they all run together. Everything runs together. Years fighters.
Yeah.
Callum Smith was a good comeback against that Masternak, wasn't it? For me, he was getting battered for 6 rounds.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I think, Matty, what you said, Navarrete Wilson, I thought that was a great fight. And also the build up to the fight, Wilson got shafted, didn't he, by those dodgy scales, man. He weighed himself in and then he came to the official scales and found out he was like 5.5 pounds lighter. There was definitely something funny going on that night. Neri Hovhannissian as well was one. But Rabesi Espinosa was fight of the year for me. I just think it was a great story. And then the knockdown swinging it at the end and the guy out exceeding expectations. I just think it had it all. I really enjoyed Rabesi.
Yeah, God, Espinosa was so lucky that he ate that right hook towards the end of that round. Fuck, if there was 30 seconds left
right enough. There was a knockdown apiece. Yeah, absolutely.
For me, just on the category of knockout of the year, the Nakatani, I would have gone for Mendoza against Big Fundora. Yeah, I thought that was savage.
I can never remember them. By the end of the year or the beginning of the next year.
I've got to keep notes of them, actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah, to clear that one up, I was thinking of Luis Alberto Lopez when he beat Conlon. Yeah. And I somehow thought he boxed Lee Wood. But I'm thinking the second Lara one, aren't I? Wood boxed Lara twice, didn't he? Yeah.
Conlon didn't have a great year, did he, all in all?
No, bad year.
Wood's been in a good number of crazy fights over the last 18 months. It's been pretty fucking intense all in all. He's we'll see and talk about a guy where it's kind of curious to see what his 2025 or 2024 looks like. I mean, obviously they got the Warrington rematch at 130. I tend to think he's going to look a lot better at 130 pounds than he did at 126 in that last outing. So it'll be interesting to see what'll happen. Is a Cordina fight towards the end of the year a possibility? I don't know. But I think
I don't like that. Is that a rematch happening in Warrington and Wood?
I have heard as much.
I don't like that rematch for Warrington.
It's in the hands of the football club now, isn't it? They want to have it at the City ground. So
I know he was
Wood
in the
posed,
fight and all of last time. I think after I think Wood can get you any time. Like, you could be having a great time with him and fucking fiddling him about and all that. Like, but I don't think Warrington can knock Wood out. But I think Wood can knock him out anytime. Does that make sense?
He was unequivocally weight drained too. I mean, that Lee Wood was not in the best shape going into that fight. So, Des,
for Josh Warrington to beat Lee Wood, he's going to have to press that fight. And that's what caught him out last time, wasn't it? I just don't think Warrington's cute enough over 12 rounds against a puncher like Lee Wood, who's dangerous going backwards.
Yeah, and he'll punch between your shots. That's the problem with it. And Lee Wood's been on. It's been a weird few years, man. It has been
Lee
a
Wood's
weird
a hooker.
few years.
Lee Wood's a hooker. So if you're going to press him, you're walking into his biggest shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't. What do you think? How do you think if he gets through that? How do you think a Cordina versus Wood fight would go?
Yeah, I think that's a natural fight. I think that's where everybody earns a few quid, and it's his in-house thing, isn't it? Haven't we spoke about this before? Who's the other options for Wood? There's Navarrete. That'd be a really good fight, but I think they're going to probably play it safe, play it simple, and keep it in-house. So I think it'd be Cordina if he gets past Warrington.
Yeah, I have a feeling that, I think he's going to, Navarrete, it's always a question how long he can exist in a weight class. He's very big still at 130 pounds. And I think my hunch is that after that last performance, Shakur Stevenson's in bad need of a dance partner who could make him look good and give him the chance to land some big shots. And that could very well be Navarrete. I wouldn't be shocked if we see Stevenson versus Emmanuel Navarrete this year.
I think so. I said that after the Stevenson. No, was it who did Navarrete fight? They fought on the same card, didn't they? Navarrete fought Conceição, and Stevenson fought De Los Santos. Isn't that right? And I said afterwards, I bet you any money they're going to stick them two together. Black versus Mexican. Bob Arum loves them type of fights, don't they?
Yeah. Or it could be against Abraham Nova.
Oh yeah, no, but I forgot about him. Get him in the mix.
Well, he's fighting Oshaki Foster in February.
That's right.
Just like, we predicted it, Steve. I just said it's just amazing. Of all of those names mentioned, Abraham Nova was the one they went with. Who could have seen that one coming? Abraham Nova. So anyhow, but it's the calendar is kind of interesting shaping up. But I'll tell you what, here's something that does have me a little bit worried, Dominic. We obviously all heard about the great and intriguing deal made between Amazon and the PBC, and yet I've seen nothing announced so far as to any fights that might be on that roster on Amazon, and that does worry me.
Yeah, I was just actually thinking about that the other day, Matty, during the week. The fact that I did actually hear, I heard some rumor that the guy on Amazon side who negotiated the deal with Heyman and the PBC.
He's been fired.
He subsequently left Amazon.
I thought I was just making a smart ass remark.
No, he's signed over $500 million to Uncle Al.
Yeah, no, you're spot on, Matty. I think that's I heard that during the week. He's left Amazon. Why? It wasn't disclosed why, but if that's the case, and he was the guy that sort of negotiated the deal for Amazon, and he's left, it does sort of lump a huge amount of uncertainty around the sort of that deal getting off the runway, so to speak, and there's an awful lot of fighters whose futures are going to be up in the air. Fighters, and it could work in a number of different ways. It could mean that we're sort of lucky that with these fighters being sort of, in need of a home, we'll get the big fights, the likes of Matias, the likes of Crawford and Boots Ennis. Eddie's been talking this week about trying to sign Boots Ennis. It could mean that we get some of these fights that we want, but it'll be one to look out for. I like you. The fact that they haven't released a schedule yet, that would raise a few alarms.
Here's a question for you about Boots Ennis, because this has been on my mind. I know he's a great fighter and everything, and they've upgraded him, I think, to world champion, after stripping Bud Crawford. But has he come along at the time where the welterweight division is at its most unglamorous for the last 25 years.
He's arrived too late, mate. He's arrived too late.
He could be the guy that, like, yeah, exactly. Like, he could be the guy. Like, he has, I'd say, like, he has potential to have talent. I'm not going to say he's as good as Terence Crawford, right? I don't think he's as good as Terence Crawford, but I think he's good enough to give Terence Crawford a fright, right? And that's saying a lot for me, because you know what I think of Crawford. But you look at the welterweight division for the last 20 years, you had Oscar, you had Floyd, you had Mosley, you had Trinidad, you had then you had like post Floyd, you had Thurman, Manny, Cotto, Danny Garcia, even Keith Thurman, all these people, Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. Now, who the fuck is Boots Ennis going to fight if he becomes the welterweight champion? Well, please God.
That smoke.
Yeah,
but you're right, yeah. You know what's going to happen here, actually? Ennis is going to end up to the point where all the old guard are gone or retired or semi-retired, and no, I don't want to fight Boots. He's not earned that right yet. It's going to end up to the point Boots will be the man, and then it will be the next generation coming up behind him. That's who he's going to. He's got to wait till he's older, and he's got to then fight.
He's being wasted,
fighters.
Andy, and he's tight to the weight as well.
He absolutely is.
He doesn't need another promoter either. That's the last thing he signed to about 5 of them. That's the problem.
He had legal problems as well because of it.
But there is what Steve, you've said this a number of times when discussing when Boots Ennis has come up. You know, you've referenced how big he is, and I wouldn't be as worried or as pessimistic about his ability to land big fights as Rob is, because you know I can see him moving up to as high as middleweight. And the other thing is that even if he does stay at welterweight, I do think there's enough fights there. I think Stanley Jonas is a great fight. I think as well.
The only one. Who else?
Well, I think as well, Rob, the fact that a lot of people in the game are saying that both Devin Haney and Teofimo Lopez. Again, it's not at this moment in time, but I get the point that they're probably going to be at 140 for the foreseeable future, and they probably don't want to fight Ennis. But I think those people have said Devin Haney, when you see him in person, that he's definitely big enough to fight at welter.
No doubt, but he's not going to jump up there to fight Boots Ennis. We know the game. Like, that's what I'm saying. I just think it's going to come.
You mentioned Stanley Jonas. I mean, there's another fighter as well. You know, solid fighter, but just no active or injured, no getting the opportunity, whatever it is.
Injured.
You know, exactly. And then you can't expect him to come off that layoff. How long is it on now? Almost 2 years, 18 months at least. And he's like, you can't say, I'm like, okay, go fight Boots Ennis. It's just no fair, man. You've got to have the guy have a tune up to make sure he's ready to go. And same goes for Ennis as well. I mean, he now needs a breakout fight, and if he doesn't get a breakout fight, he needs to at least be active and start cleaning out the division, cleaning out the contenders at least if he can't get unifications.
What we'll say about what Rob's right about, I think, is even if a Stanley Jonas fight, it's not. I think the point Rob is making as well is that's not the sort of big fight for Boots Ennis that's going to, you know, it's not the big fight. It's not a massive pay-per-view fight by any stretch.
And it's a tough fight for what you would be taking it for as well, money-wise and esteem-wise. If you beat him, people would shrug and say, well, so I don't care.
There's nothing pay-per-view-wise.
He'd have to do a good job to beat him. Sorry, Dominic.
Yeah. No, you're it's not that big marquee fight that's gonna sort of catapult them into sort of popular sport and consciousness in America. But you know, another possibility is maybe a Virgil Ortiz fight at light middleweight, but I think there's so much uncertainty about Virgil Ortiz at the minute about how he's going to adapt. We've got very slim evidence base about how he's recovered from the multiple illnesses or whatever. So, yeah, I sort of do. I see where Rob's coming from. It's sort of Ennis, if he's not careful, he's going to need good management, and he's going to.
There is no pay-per-view fights in terms of names or events I can see between here 47 and 60, right? And Steve quite rightly says he's had problems with management or promoters and that. Maybe he's not fighting so much because part of that purse is going to go to pay off this, pay off that. Who knows what the situation is, but it's criminal as to how he's not fighting, and he's supposed to be a world champion of sorts and that as well at this point.
I think that's why the PBC didn't go all in on him, because I could never understand why Heyman never got behind him. They were always sort of dipping the toe in the water with Ennis, weren't they? And I think that's why.
Do you know what as well? Like, in terms of welterweights, like in terms of future stars, very thin on the ground. They still have Spence Jr. obviously listed as a welterweight, which is never going to happen. He's never going to be back at 47.
In his eye, he said the detached.
Oh, yeah. It's like Slick Rick. He's like Slick Rick at the moment now with an eye patch on him. Virgil Ortiz is going to move up. There's guys in the welterweight division, honest to God, that are ranked that I've never fucking seen. There's this guy Crowley, a Canadian, Avanesian still floating about in there, Mario Barrios, Rocha.
You've never watched Cody Crowley fight?
Oh, I
Yeah,
have.
he's
Now that
quite
you say
fun
his first
actually.
name.
He got paid
Yeah, I
stepping
have.
side, didn't he? And then he never.
Sorry,
fought again.
I have now that you say.
Interesting
his
backstory.
first name,
Cody Crowley as well.
Yes.
But yeah, it's 10.
I
It's
think
10, isn't it?
they'll
Like,
play it safe. I think they'll play it safe with Ennis. I think if they can get him in the driving seat at 147, they'll try and keep him there as long as they can. Remember, he's almost outgrown that weight himself. But if they can cash in with, I think Michael Thompson in the chat made a good shout. If they can recycle Thurman, Garcia, they'll do it. And then that will allow the welterweight division to naturally evolve.
Oddly enough, actually, see how we're complaining that he's not active enough and that type of stuff. He has fought the standard twice last year.
he's in the best division because none of the fucking welterweights have been active for the last 5 years. Fucking any of them. Garcia, Thurman, fucking missing posters up for all of them.
Who's it Garcia was calling out the other day there, actually? Who's it? What fight
He was
was
supposed to
wanting?
fight Erislandy Lara, wasn't he? And the fight just disappeared.
No,
and
that's
nobody
right, yeah.
knows why.
At middleweight, Steve, that wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's someone else. I think he's been calling it. It's
Hopefully
not
it's
him.
that.
Oh, who the hell was it? Oh, he was in the background actually.
Hanging on to the champ. Fucking gripping the champ to death. Fuck's sake.
And I tell you, Ortiz at 54, I didn't see that ending well whatsoever. I think he could beat a couple of the
Why is he going
get up and
54, by
comers.
the way? Is he undisciplined or
He
something?
can't do 47, mate. When he hits, when it comes to the week of making weight, he crashes, and then for whatever reason, it's illness.
Almost killed him.
Well, he's got
He was
this
50 he was
rhabdomyolysis,
56
hasn't he?
last
But I think there's something more to
Yeah.
it. Though. I think it's indiscipline. I think there's mentally something wrong with Ortiz. He's very tetchy. He's very quick off the mark. You see, like on Twitter and with press conferences, and even after the Lawson fight, you could see him getting all tetchy because he thought they were booing him when they were booing the referee's stoppage. There's a mental issue with Ortiz, as well as a physical issue, and I think that'll come back to bite him in the future.
Or maybe he has rage associated with some.
Quite possibly.
That's how he fights. That's how he fights. He fights with a bit of rage, like, to be fair.
All those fairness, I've known lads like that too that are a bit fucking like, do you know what I mean? Just regular folks that are ready to go at all times. There's sometimes it's in the personality, but those guys, like you say, generally come unstuck, don't they? Like, it's a mental thing. Like, they haven't got the mental toughness. It works against them. Like, what works for him works against them in the end. Like.
But as Des says, he didn't even make 54 last week. It was 56.
No, he
so
didn't.
he doesn't even make the championship limit.
I think there's more to it than the illness.
Fucking Christmas.
Yeah, they have to change
somehow,
it.
And by the way, because he didn't make 54, by the way, but he still somehow miraculously appears in the world rankings. I see he's ranked 6 with the BC at 54.
He can crack it.
He's ranked 3 with the BA.
He's missing the X factor or something, though, isn't he? To become like, I don't know. Like, I guess I'm looking back at fighters of the past, or even in the recent past, that were interesting. Like, you were interested in every fight they had. Am I interested in Virgil Ortiz fights these days? I don't fucking really know if I am. Like, I kind of know the outcome before they happen. Yeah, I'm not going to say, what do you mean, man?
Before he had that Stan Jonas fight, that was a big fight with boxing fans, and whoever won that fight was going to carry a bit of intrigue moving forward.
That's right.
That it couldn't go.
That would have been a great, because whoever won that would have been sort of elevated into like a legit contender, the big boys. Like, I actually thought before he had all the trouble with the rhabdomyolysis, I was having this debate back and forth with Steve a few times and about who would win a fight between Boots and Virgil Ortiz, because they were both at the sort of same sort of level of a contender coming through, but you can't really make a case from that fight's gone, but that fight's not happening now anytime soon at all. So that's just what's sort of happened. But there is something you see him on. He's sort of asked these innocuous questions about big fights that are happening in other divisions, and he's very, very snappy and touchy, as Steve said. There's something just a bit I don't know what it is, but you've been one to keep an eye on what happens.
I'll tell you one to keep an eye on. Just been talking about 47 opponents now, and he's making a wee bit of a quiet comeback. Pablo Cesar Cano, 34, right? 2-fight win streak. He's new fighting the Gayazov, one of the Uzbeks.
He's ranked. He's ranked in the top 10. That guy.
He's ranked top 5, mate. Top 5.
He, yeah?
So he's making a wee bit of comeback. If he beats Gayazov, I wouldn't be surprised to see him getting a chap at the door.
And hope big puncher.
That would be stupid.
I fucking hate him though, because he's smashing Linares to bits at 140.
He did it in one round, by the way. Guyasov isn't a big puncher for what I can recall either, so that's on that Berlenga McCrory card actually.
Kano's best shout where he could have had a title was against Moloney. That fight honestly could have gone either way. It was a close one.
And we have seen genuine superstars of boxing. Leave 147, go up in weight, and the appeal has gone with them. Whether it's Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, whether it's Oscar, Trinidad,
Cotto.
So yeah, Cotto, exactly. So if for example, Crawford landed at 54, and Boots ended up at 54, and he joined Tszyu and Charlo and Ortiz, we wouldn't be complaining, would we?
No, true. We need to see
Wouldn't be complaining
to have his breakout fight.
As such as well, we also got the 54 division kind of like, we got the fights in the end, we got the unifications, we got the fights that really mattered at the end of the day quite quickly as well. So we can't complain at that. Have had a lot of unified champs, legit, guys that can say that we are the number one. Can't complain in that regard. Because it's never been like this, in terms of like, so who is the clear champion at the weight, because you've got so many belts. I think obviously you had Taylor for a bit, you had Vladimir Klitschko for a while. Calzaghe got his belts in the end. Hay minus the IBF. Crawford obviously through 2 weight divisions, I think it was. Canelo's done it a couple of times, I think. Floyd possibly. No, I don't think Floyd did it all, but
here's one for just a side. Fucking that you're after throwing up there to me now. This dog's gonna fucking interrupt the pound. Fuck up. If Crawford wins a world title at 54, does he eclipse and retires undefeated? Does he eclipse Floyd's legacy?
No, not for me, Rob.
Yeah, not for me either. It's a bit of a bullshit question, isn't it?
I would
he's up there, though. I'd say he's up there.
He's up there, yeah.
Let me say
that dog got you spooked there, by the way.
If he
pain in the arse, he's going to get fucking sent to a farm. Fuck around.
if Crawford's had a 1-2 at 154, and that was picking a belt off of Charlo or picking a belt off of Tszyu and then taking out Charlo, and that was undisputed, you might have to give him that. But I think the belts are going to fracture before then. That's kind of the shame of how this Charlo thing has unfolded, because if they could have just squared that up right away,
because I'd have favored him against Charlo. I would really have favored him against Charlo.
Oh,
honestly. Yeah, definitely would have favored him down the line, down the stretch as well.
Especially after the mental damage done by Canelo. I mean, getting beat like that and just never being in a fight is definitely damaging to your psyche.
That kind of fucked it up as well, though, didn't it? That venture for Canelo or for fucking Charlo, small Charlo, North, that venture fucked it up, because if he comes back down now, the Crawford beats the shit out of him, everyone's going to say he's damaged goods, and the belts are all fragmented anyway, so it's not worth fuck. Stupid question. Sorry, move on.
Yeah. but a weight class needs a pot of gold. So Oscar was a pot of gold, and where he went, people followed. Floyd ended up at welter, and people got to welter. Canelo, wherever Canelo ends up, people are going to follow. So we need a pot of gold at either 147 or 154. So someone's got to step up and be that pay-per-view fighter.
This is it. You're looking around the sport now to see who's going to be the next guy to really take it to fucking megastar levels outside the heavyweights, who are all on the way out, by the way. Is there anyone?
There's going to have to be an evolution. Yes,
well,
right.
they're not going to do it fighting twice a year, put it that way. I mean, they need to go out there and, need to talk the shit as well back up in the ring. I mean, a bit like Floyd.
Some of the shite being see that this past week, 10 days, the stuff that's going back and forth between Teofimo Lopez, the Haney's, Rand Garcia, it's an absolute, it's just a complete guff. It's just just.
Annoys the shit out of me, that too. They're tweeting each other. The only person I like on Twitter is Crawford, because he tweets like he talks in real life. So if some fan gives him stick, he's always like, I bet your soft ass wouldn't say that shit in my face.
Someone needs to take Stevenson's phone off him, man, because it doesn't do him any favors.
On the aforementioned, like, big star, I think that the artist formerly known as Tank Davis, if he could keep his head out of his ass, could probably pull that off to some degree. I think with his style, William Zepeda, if he went on a good run, especially in the weight division he would have to do it in, he would pick up a whole lot of fans in that process.
He has to get past Maxie Hughes first.
Yeah. Despite his missteps, I think Teofimo Lopez still has huge star potential, especially if somehow this year they make a fight against Subriel Matias, because
I like Teo.
I think Teo. I think his athleticism is exactly what you need to beat Matias, and that's a big victory, and that is a fucking fight.
I was on the hype train for Teofimo Lopez after I thought he'd give Lomachenko problems. I didn't think he'd beat him, but I thought he'd give him a tough night, and then he beat him decisively, I thought, and then everything fell to shit, and he's come back to the forefront now. But my problem with Lopez is he hasn't got a good team, and they're letting him talk too much. And when I see him talking, it actually makes me think that Eddie Hearn did such a good job with Joshua, even though it cracked me up at the time when they were rolling him out in the big white robe with the fucking Muhammad Ali black and white fucking homage in the background and all that, and he was stay humble, be humble, and he was like a PR robot. But Hearn recognized like he couldn't let this fucking guy off the leash because he couldn't say anything, as we saw later on. You get me? Like, so there's nobody around Lopez to just fucking quieten him down a little bit, and I think he's too much of his own worst enemy. Talent wise, I agree with you, he's there, like, but I think he's so athletic, he can fucking punch. I think if he's dialed in, but like that has too much say. Like, he got rid of Joe Gamachi out of the camp and all that, and then he went to shit. I agree with you as well about
and
Tank
then
Davis,
he steps
Matty.
up and beats fucking Josh Taylor.
He has physically robbed all the
Easily.
attributes to be an absolute superstar. It's the mental side of the game.
It's the mental side of it. I just don't think I don't think he's like, he definitely hasn't got fucking crossover appeal. Teofimo Lopez, man, what fucking people are going to be like? Oh, I want to be like this headbanger. It's not fucking. That's not happening. Like, Tank Davis, I definitely think he has crossover appeal, but I was a big fucking Tank Davis fan from day one. As soon as he beat Pedraza, I was calling him. I fucking basically backed him to win every fight that he's been in. But I think he's too protected. I think Ellerby and fucking whatever, they're just doing. I think they're protecting him too much. Like, who's the best win on his resume is probably his breakout fight Pedraza, where he was in a 50-50 fight. Barrios was there for the taking, dog. They were fucking bringing him up to fuck. Barrios had a long streak of piss. He
doesn't need to be protected though, Rob. That's the frustrating
That's
thing.
what I'm saying. We need to see him against Garcia, or we saw him against Garcia. We need to see him against Haney. We need to see him against these guys to show how fucking good he is. Because if he did that, he could save the fucking sport. Because imagine Tank Davis knocks out fucking Devin Haney and he knocks out fucking Teo Lopez. And, they're gone up the way. But you get me, like,
people be talking about knockouts the next morning. They don't even watch boxing.
And they're talking. Steve, what did they do with Tyson, Steve?
Imagine a Four Kings era, where a new Four Kings era, where this group of guys around 135, 140 are fighting each other, and they chase each other up a couple of.
Even the Lomachenko fight now, they wouldn't give him. They wouldn't give it to him now, even the Lomachenko fight. They would not make that fight now because there'd be an off chance Lomachenko would fucking school him.
Yeah, Lomachenko
wouldn't happen.
Kambosos is a joke. I got to be honest with you. That's fight's a fucking.
George Kambosos, can he fuck off? By the way, he was good. He was good when he came and he beat Selby and he did the job against Teo. He got his. But his two performances against Devin Haney, where he got completely shut out, and now he cannot shut the fuck up on Twitter. He's another one, like nonstop. He was like, what was he saying during the week? He was ready to go. He's talking about Teo, I think, and he was talking about, I was ready to go backstage bare knuckle with him, but I saw in his eyes he was, man, shut the fuck up. He's not.
No, he don't beat a top kid.
I gotta tell you,
not anymore.
I got to tell you what bothers me about Australian boxing fans is you have all these fighters over the years who they have pushed, who are fucking, mid-grade at best, couple of champions here and there, who whatever reason they follow and they have these big events every once in a while for. And here you have fucking Michael Katsidis traveling the world, engaging in some of the fucking best fights of the last 25 years. Well, none of the fights that we're speaking of are in his home country of Australia. None of the ones.
The stars aligned for Kambosos the night he fought Teofimo Lopez. He was the best he was ever going to be. And Lopez was the worst probably that he was going to be. And I'm not taking that away from Kambosos. That was a 1 in a million shot and he took his chance. He lost to Maxi Hughes. We all saw that. We know his level and he ain't going to beat Lomachenko, I don't think.
Not a fucking prayer.
Can we just have a fucking moment for fucking Michael Katsidis appreciation, please?
Remember Michael Katsidis? Didn't he smash up Kevin Mitchell and Frank Warren on the mic?
Graham Earl was the one, wasn't it?
Graham Earl on 18.
Ricky Van with the towel back in. That's my kind of referee.
I was unreal.
Remember when he beat Kevin Mitchell and fucking just buzzsawed him, and then was it Frank Warren was Mitchell's promoter at the time, and he got on the mic and was like, He's having fucking trouble with the missus. He's not fucking going.
Yeah, he's all over the shop, wasn't he, Mitchell? He's on the pit and
He's
all.
like throwing all his fucking shit out under the bar. I'm like, whoa, don't be telling me about my missus, Frank. He's fucking having trouble with the fucking missus. Oh, fuck's sake.
Frank, something you said, Steve. You mentioned Mike Tyson, and it goes back to something Andy touched on. How did you keep Mike Tyson out of trouble? You kept him active. Andy said we need activity. These guys can't box once a year, once every 13 months, twice every 13 months. Crawford, he was ready to go over. He was ready to go to have crossover appeal. But we haven't seen it since July. We need to see him 3 times a year. We need to see Devon Haney. We need to see Teo. We need to see Inoue, Opataya. All these guys have got to be active. Nothing keeps a fighter straight than having to fight 3 times a year. Nothing keeps a public interested in seeing these fighters 3 or 4 times a year.
No, activity is key. I think, like, even if you look at the Premier League now, and like you look at like Arsene Wenger walking away because he was like the fighter or the players had too much money. Like, I can't, you know what I mean? It's different. Like, I can get a fella to run for me and all and believe in something, but if he's earning he's coming to fucking training in his fucking Lambo with the 2 doors up and he's getting out with his Beats by Dre's and all this cunt's not listening to me. Like, and I look at like the Instagram pages of the likes of a Tank Davis and Shakur Stevenson and all these guys. It's like, no, I'm not saying fighters haven't lived lavish lifestyles, but obviously the fighters at the top level earned a lavish lifestyle after fucking earning it. But these guys seem to be like, they're living in palaces, they're driving the fighters' cars, they don't give a fuck about anything about the money. So fighting each other is not important to them. So Davis has been schooled in that way that it doesn't matter who the fuck you're fighting, the money is the most important thing, and that's good for him. But I think boxing gets to lose out because we haven't seen Tank Davis versus Shakur Stevenson. Well, you know what I mean? What's the fucking problem with seeing that fight? Like, Tyson was fucking in the 86, he was 20 years of age fighting everybody. That was, you know what I mean? Cleaning up the division. There was no obstacles. Everybody wanted to see the big fights. Nowadays, it's just there's too many fucking irons in the fire. They're getting paid too much, and it's just a fucking byproduct. And it's sad because Tank Davis should be a global name, not just somebody that we know. You get me?
They've been talking about this Pitbull Cruz rematch. It's been the most pointless rematch.
Have you seen the size of him now, by the way?
The Pitbull?
Oh, he is massive. As he would say, fucking massive.
The Pitbull Cruz is last of a dying breed. Like the Pitbull, really. Put them all down because they're going to kill you.
This is an XL bully, this fucking thing, man. Jesus Christ.
When you're 5'4", man, you really can't be carrying more than 170 pounds on your frame, or your knees are going to start to fucking give.
Tell that to Prince Naz, asshole.
Used to shave my hair off as well.
Yeah, but just remember, in his day, he was bloody good, as he so says, standing over a pie.
He was entertaining, even though like I had a bit of begrudgery towards him because I felt like he was ripping off Macho Camacho's act a little bit. But fuck me, imagine him nowadays in 126 division, fella like him. Fucking hell.
He knew how to sell a fight, and it kind of like, if there's anything I would say fighters need to work on if they're gonna like get into this big bunch of bullshit, they need to like revive the great ring entrance, man. Fucking Naz had a few fucking bangers for sure.
I remember, I love that fucking documentary in the run up to Barrera. I know I've mentioned it on here so many times, but I love that Barrera documentary, the ITV one, where they're basically behind camp with Naz before the Barrera fight, like, and he's with Manny for the first time, and they go for the first day's training. And they're like, "How did that go, Manny?" He's like, No, everything's wrong. He's pulling his head up in the air. Everything is wrong. He's like, fucking couldn't understand what this fucking fella was doing in training because he was so unorthodox. Like, but like he was a mega star. Forgive me, by the way. That's what I was going to say. I know my memory's hazy a little bit because I was doing music at certain stages, so I was like a boxing nerd from the kind of age of 8 up until I started getting some ass and give a shit about these fucking fighters anymore. Did you get me? I was out doing my thing, but I can't fucking. There's a bit of crossover between. Was there a bit of crossover between Floyd's career and Naz's career? That fight was touted at one stage, wasn't it? Like,
yes, there was 100%. They could have fought each other. Yeah,
that would have been some fight, man.
Naz would have had to jump a weight class though, and I always felt like he probably could have made 122. He wasn't a huge featherweight by any stretch. He was a pretty small featherweight, all things considered, even being a bit broad.
Did he not start out at 122 anyway?
He might have in his domestic career.
Yeah, he did in his domestic career. I think he had to start a few fights at Super Mountain before he.
Does anyone remember a featherweight called Derek Smoke Gaynor? He used to be trained with Roy Jones. He used to take a monthly ad out in the ring and Boxer Monday to call out Nazim Hamid. Do you remember that? No,
I
used to
forget
do that all
who's
the
he a
time.
trainer right now? He trains somebody quite high profile.
I'm not sure. I know he was with
I saw
Jones
him
and then
recently in someone's corner.
Who the hell was it?
I'm going to look up his box right now because I think he actually he was a good fighter, but he got beaten by good fighters. Like he
He had a
wasn't
mad
a
fight,
slouch.
didn't he? Was it against him against Kevin Kelly? One of his fights was bonkers, I seem to remember.
Yeah, it was the Kevin Kelly one, I think.
Was it Kevin Kelly? Yeah.
Yeah. His kid's boxing. His nickname is Half Gainer. I'm just kidding.
Gloria Gainer.
But anyways, let's move on the discussion. Otherwise, Mrs. Wellington is going to be very upset with us. So let's hit into the schedule this week. Only a couple of things off the
It's
top.
only 10 o'clock, Mrs. Wellington would be delighted. She'd be sending them back down to the fucking basement if she sees them at this time.
Only a couple of things I'm looking at on the schedule, really. And if you guys think of something else, please let me know. We're going to have a Pro Box card on Wednesday with one of our Prediction League picks is in. Going to have 8-0-1 Jacob Bradley Gomez Zayas. That's a lot of names. Taking on 6-0 Ezequiel Barrero. Excuse me. Then we're going to have Freudis Rojas 12-0 taking on Christian Baez 12-3. And then a battle of undefeateds, Luis Feliciano 17-0 taking on Myquan Williams 19-0-2 in a 140-pound bout. That is the one on our Prediction League.
I think you're making them names up, Matter.
I wish I was, Steve. I wish I was. But we can expect that action from Pro Box this Wednesday. But I think the only card that everyone's really paying attention to is going to be on Saturday. Going to be at the Echo Arena in Liverpool. Let's see here. Where the heck? Oh, let me get the card up. God damn it. I just had one of the fights up. Going to be headlined, I believe, by the women's title fight between Natasha Jonas and Michaela Mayer. Mayer making the jump to welterweight. Get to that in a moment. Also, Jack Cullen taking on Zach Chili. I think they might have fought before. Aaron McKenna and Linus Udofia. I believe we just saw Udofia in a bit of an upset recently. And Mark Jeffers against Jermaine Brown. Also going to have a little more women's action on there with Olympian Karis Artingstall taking on Lita Dos Santos Furtado in a nice step-up fight for her as she is chasing down a world title opportunity. Andy, what are your thoughts on these fights? I know you're not entirely too smitten with this card, but hey, it's a Saturday afternoon. What the hell are we going to do?
What's the card again, mate? The Sky card.
Yeah, the one I just went through entirely.
No, sorry, mate. I was actually just kind of following up on the NFL results. I've got a fair bit of money on this game tonight. I'm more interested in that one, to be fair, mate.
Yeah, it's a 7-0 Packers right now.
Yeah, going to someone else just now, mate. I'm just watching
a little parlay, Andy. A little
parlay, mate.
Night.
Yeah, fancy a wee bet, mate. Fancy the Cowboys do the business, you know.
I fancy one last night, and I'm glad I didn't put it on when I wake up this morning because I was going to lump on Beterbiev on the under, and the bastard went and did him in round 7 and fucking sick of me altogether. So I'm glad I didn't do it now.
So, Andy, any thoughts on those fights?
I'm just pulling up the card now, mate. I'll go with maybe a Chile win possibly. And Jonas possibly beat Mayer. Not too sure. Who's that? Aaron McKenna, is that? I can't remember who that is again, actually.
You're asking the wrong guy.
Yeah, the Irish prospects, isn't he? I think wasn't he on mixed? No, he was.
No, that's not. Steve. I don't think that's Mick Hennessy's.
No,
McKenna.
sorry. Yeah, this is the one who was signed by Golden Boy. I think there's actually and based on the West Coast for a while. This kid.
Well, hasn't this been an exciting?
I'll go through it quickly. Right, this is a bit of an Smith card. It's quite an incestuous card, actually, Matty. They've all fought each other at some point off of these boys. So you've got Mark Jeffers going in against Jermaine Brown. Jeffers pulled off a win over, which may be a surprising win, actually, even though he was unbeaten, against Zach Cheli in his last fight. So Jeffers is not really much of a puncher. I'm trying to remember the fight.
He's further down the card than Cheli,
he's further down the card. He's going against Jermaine Brown, who's a good, honest kind of fighter. I think he was something to do with Alcesta at one point. Fought on one of those Belarus cards back in the day. Went out to Italy a couple of fights ago and got beaten. But he always goes the distance and gives a good account of himself. So that should be a decent fight. Neither are punchers. McKenna
fighting for the British against Zach Parker or something.
I
Sure, he
don't.
fought in one of the World Box Super Series cards.
Let me see. Actually, no, he lost to Zuko. He lost to Zach Chelly again. Another Zach Chelly connection. They're always about 7
He fought in
paces from Zach
Glasgow.
Chelly.
He fought in Glasgow a few years back, I'm sure.
Right. Okay. Let me see. So McKenna's unbeaten. He's come back over again from America. He's fighting Adofio. He's a talented fighter, a bit of a prospect at one point, but it hasn't worked out for him at all. Real long bouts of inactivity. Finally stepped up to fight Denzel Bentley. Lost a split decision for the British, and he got stopped, which was the surprise I think you were mentioning, Matty, a few fights ago to Kieran Conway. I think there's a bad cut or a bad eye injury involved. I'm doing this off the top of my head, so the chat can surely remind me.
Yeah,
Jack
that
Cullen.
was it. Yep, that was exactly it. It was a bit of an upset there, especially for him to win by a stoppage.
Zach Chelly, him and Cullen have fought before. I think it was a draw. Cullen's really made something of himself because he was sort of plotting around the northern scene. I think he fought in like a last man standing tournament in Dublin that I was at about 6 years ago. So he's done well for himself now. British super middleweight title fight. I think actually, yes, didn't he beat for Heffron? There you are. He fought Heffron in his last fight, knocked him about, really had him shaking about all over the place.
Steve?
Yes.
Yeah, Michael Jennings is his trainer. Do you remember him?
Yes, I remember Michael,
that Michael Jennings is his trainer, if you recall the fight. We spoke about it at the time, and it was a big result for him. He beat Mark. Was it Mark Heffron or Ronnie Heffron he beat?
Mark,
One of the Heffron. It was a big upset, and I remember me and you talking about it because we remembered Michael Jennings. That's his head trainer, I think.
Yeah, Michael.
Jack Cullen, I'm talking about.
Yeah. Michael was a good fighter. He came on the pod a couple of times actually. That's the best I can do, Matty, off the top of my head. To be honest, Jonas, Michaela Mayer, you'd be better off speaking about that than I would, to be honest.
That fight, I actually think it is an interesting fight because I think the weight classes and the jumps don't matter as much in women's boxing as they do in the men's side of the sport.
It's lovely weight, though, isn't it? 10 stone 7, 147 pounds is great weight for the two girls.
Well, and if you'll if you look at her training videos, Rob, what you really love about it is it seems like Michaela Mayer is putting this extra poundage just in her ass. It looks fantastic.
Well, she has to have something, I guess.
But honestly, to get away from that and the misogynistic aspect of it, really interesting fight. Mayer definitely the younger of the two. Both have great experience, amateur and professional, and it's just my hunch that that Jonas is just a bit over the hill at this point in time. And even though she's on a good run at the higher weight classes, I just happen to think that Mayer's going to be able to outbox her because I don't think that Jonas offers the same type of angles and movement that Baumgartner was able to trouble Mayer with in what was a really close fight that could have legitimately gone either way. So,
Matty, am I right in saying that, sorry to interrupt you, is Makaya quite boring to watch? I mean, she's a bit of a back foot boxer. I don't find her very interesting. Am I thinking of the right girl, or could I be being harsh here?
No, she definitely works more behind the jab and stuff like that. And I'm trying to think where I saw it. I think it was a pound for pound list of the top women's fighters. And one of the description of Mayer was that she was like a come forward pressure fighter. I'm like, I don't know what fucking sport you guys are watching. She's much more of a boxer. I mean, she can put it on gals at certain times, but that's not really her game.
There was talk of this being, sorry, Rob.
No, I was going to say a better description would have been, looks a bit like Nicolas Cage.
That's fucked
way
up.
Better description of her as a boxer.
That's fucked up because people have also told me that I look a little bit like Nicolas Cage, so that would mean that I look like Michaela Mayer.
Well, they say you're attracted to people that have the same symmetrical faces and all that, so maybe there's something to that about you.
I was going to say, Matty, was
You're
there not
saying I just want to fuck myself, Rob?
No, but I was going to suggest this. Fuckface.
I'll get this out, yes. Wasn't Maya complaining that the fight was so many weeks out and she didn't know it was going to be a 12-3s or a 10-2s? I'm assuming that was resolved?
Yeah, it's 10-2s.
Okay.
So, yeah.
That's good. We ain't got to suffer as much of it then.
Fuck off. Anyways, Des, what are your thoughts on this card?
Yeah, I think the two interesting ones are Jack Cullen and Zach Chelly. That's a real hard one to pick because they're not punchers. They've boxed before. They fought to a draw. Cullen's coming off of that brilliant Heffron win where he looked like a puncher. Done really well. Something tells me Jack Chelly's going to con him out of it. They're going to win by Jack Chelly will win by a decision. With the two ladies being over 2 minutes, I think that Joe Gallagher's style will really help Natasha. She's not been as active as Maya, but I think she'll have her hands up and she'll press, and I think Maya will keep going backwards. I think Jonas wins a decision, and I think McKenna beats Udoka. Jeffers beats Brown, and that's it, mate.
All right. Where are you going on this card, Dom?
Don't even know if I'll watch it, Molly, to be honest with you. I can't get on board with the women's fight boxing. The 2-minute rounds just make it very hard for me to summon the interest. But I have seen clips of Natasha Jonas boxing, and she's southpaw, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen a few clips of her. She from what I've seen, she looks good, but I don't really have much interest, Molly, to be honest with you.
There you go. What about the other fights on the card?
I don't have a great deal of interest there, to be honest with you.
Let him die, Matt.
Man, I tell you, what a rough one after a weekend of some really good fights.
He's not watching a Ben Salam card on a Saturday night. Clear your mind.
Dom is not feeling it.
Talking about Ben Salam, Rob, did you hear the story that broke about him over the weekend? It's more about boxer in general, but some guy, he's a sort of cricket fixer, but he sort of.
Oh, I saw something come out about it. Yeah.
I think it doesn't look. It sort of doesn't look good for them, but.
What hasn't looked good for him for a while, to be honest.
Doesn't look any worse than the boxing on Sky, anyway.
What boxing on Sky?
Next Saturday night, Andy, you on it?
Fuck it. I'm a bit like Dom, mate. I think
Gareth Harting's stall on a Saturday night. Come on, Andy.
Mate, I could be washing my eyebrows that night, I think.
You still have eyebrows?
Yeah, I've no hair at top, mate, so that's the only thing I've got either that or my chest hair.
Oh, man. So I guess you have that to look forward to or not on Saturday evening, UK, Saturday afternoon, US. We'll see how that all works out. I am looking forward to all of it. Hopefully some good fights happen on that one. They tend to happen when we're least expecting them. Kind of much like Moloney and Sanchez. That was a little bit of an unexpected great scrap there to kick off the year. But I guess that's all.
For the record, I'd say Meyer by decision in that fight. I think she's just younger, fresher, and I like Jonas better and all whatever, but I think Meyer's going to win that one by decision. It's not going to be a knockout, let's be honest. Women's boxing.
Yeah. Well, Ames made a good point that Mayer is the A side, and they might want this to set up Mayer against Lauren Price. So I can see that.
The one we're all waiting for.
Yeah. The world holds its breath, Rob. So,
I got burnt, Matty, after Shadazy agreeing against Franchon Cruz Dessert, man. I thought that was going to be the breakout for my women's boxing experience.
I was so disappointed too. And Maddie wept, Steve. And speaking of weeping, I'm going to hand it over to you for the Bellew of the week.
Yes, thank you very much, Matthew. Ronnie Hussein slid in there. He says, Happy New Year, lads. Good luck for 2024. Who have we got here?
We're going to need it. Let's be honest.
Yeah, we're going to need it for episode 555 at least. There's Rapping Rob Kelly. You can hear him. Des, Dominic, Matty, Andy with me, Steve, as well. We could have played us in with so many clips this weekend. No, we don't want to be after timers. Everybody gets a prediction wrong. Yildirim's going to win the Super Series. Other things that we won't mention. We've all dropped a bollock over the years. But old Nunchucks himself, Tom Gray, was very, very confident that Callum Smith was going to get the job done. And here he is, laying it out as our intro to Bellew of the Week.
I like Callum Smith in this fight, even though he's the underdog. A lot of people might accuse me of British bias, but I can assure you it's not. I'm genuinely picking him for the following reasons. One, Artur Beterbiev is 38 years old now, even though he's only had 19 pro fights. Some of these fights have been difficult, and his amateur career, he was winning amateur competition all the way back to 2006. So he's had a long, punishing career in the sport. And I don't sometimes it's very similar to Deontay Wilder. You know, when Wilder was a big puncher, he would knock someone out and everyone would forget about the rest of the fight. It's the same with Beterbiev, who is 100 times better boxer than Wilder, right? But with Beterbiev, because he's on this knockout streak, everyone's just pointing in that in terms of optics. He gets a knockout, but there is vulnerability there. He's been down before. Smith's former stablemate, Callum Johnson, had him down a few years ago against Anthony Yard, who is powerful, but Yard's punches were having an effect on him. And Callum Smith lands the kind of punches that you don't see. And I think if he lands the left hook flush on Beterbiev, he's going to get a reaction. And I'm going to go right out on a limb and say that Callum Smith scores a stoppage in the first half of this fight.
You fucking resign from the fucking, what is he, the editor of the Ring magazine?
Even AI Dave Caldwell couldn't get on board with that, could he?
Master Bruce has spoken.
Jesus Christ.
I don't think he's with the Ring anymore, is he?
I'm still shocked that he was only paying 3-1 as an underdog. I like, all right, whatever. That was pretty easy money on Beterbiev there.
He said Callum Smith hits you with the kind of punches you don't see. He's right. We didn't see any of them. They didn't.
Funny,
That's the kind of guy who's trying to be different, like, isn't he? He's trying to be like, he'd get it right this morning, he'd be celebrating, he'd be like, I told him also, even though I went out on a limb and I didn't know what the fuck I was talking about, I told him this was going to happen. Watch the fucking fights. What part of anyone that watched the fight would think that fucking Callum Smith could beat fucking Artur Beterbiev? Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Funny, there's a short clip of an interview with Beterbiev. It's only about 30 seconds. You know how short his interviews are, and the guy was asking him about the fight and how Smith, what challenges he presented to him, and he just sort of said in his broken English, sort of, we need to get out here to impersonate in a Russian accent, where he says, "I see everything. I saw everything." So he did actually see everything that was coming at him, but there you go. Tom Gray thought different.
Tom Gray fan, Andy?
I don't know. I don't really know the guy, to be fair, mate.
I've met him in real life, and he's actually all right.
Sure.
I think he tried a bit of an online persona, I suppose.
Probably likes his nunchucks and that, mate. Does his wee moves.
Mm-hmm.
But
I think
so. Good stuff.
We wish him well.
Who's ever won a fight with nunchucks, by the way? That was in films, wasn't it? Like a fucking what happens if someone comes at you with a fucking gun or a knife?
Like Kareem, what was his name? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was his name.
Yeah. Game of Death.
Chuck Norris. My God, man, that guy's taken some lives in his time, man. Fucking hell. I'm sure he was born a day Hitler died, actually. So that tells you about Chuck Norris's powers, man.
Oh dear me, we wish him well.
Some fucking
Rick Glazer couldn't play this one, unfortunately, because there was music in the background. But Vegas breaking news, Mr. Boxing Guru. Apparently, Rick Glazer stole a bunch of drink vouchers from the Golden Boy staff and got ridiculously drunk. Check this video out.
Oh, go and play it, man, please.
I can't because there's copyrighted music, so I haven't even cut it. But,
have you got the link for it?
Someone tagged us in, and Mr. Boxing Guru did. But Rick wasn't happy about it, Andy. He said, in the flight back to home, had a great time in Vegas with my lovely wife, Sonia. To put all the internet lies and Bubba to rest, my wife didn't run off with Stephen Espinoza. She despises the woke, and I didn't get thrown out of a casino drunk. I was drinking my life, nor was thrown out, period. Keep listening to the internet lies and Bubba, and you'll be as dumb as those putting that garbage out there. So, Rick wasn't...
Oh, slick Rick.
Hold on. Nobody said his wife went off with Espinoza. I need to find out more about this.
I think another guy did. He said you're going to open up a chip shop in the north of England or something.
Oh, slick Rick.
Wasn't Bebop Alula a song from the 50s?
Yeah, I think it was.
Oh, man. Video?
My baby.
Oh, dear. And many will remember a heavyweight from back in the day. Franz Botha fought Evander Holyfield, fought Lennox Lewis, fought Mike Tyson, fought Michael Moorer, fought Vladimir Klitschko. If you're wondering what he was up to these days, life has maybe took a bit of a downturn for old Franz Botha. He's now popped up spamming his gym link underneath Wellington's LinkedIn posts.
Have you clicked on the link? What does it say in the link?
I didn't dare click on the link to be
honest. David, wait till you get to work and then click on the link. Someone else get access to your workstation.
A downward turn for him, Andy, clearly, man, if that's what he's been resorted to.
Jesus. I love the way Steve said he fought all those guys. I didn't win any of those fights.
Well, yeah, okay.
Maybe he did.
I remember the Lennox Lewis put him through the bottom rope or something.
It was a classic 1-2, wasn't it, from Lewis? I think,
just
bang, bang.
absolutely iced him.
That made the Tyson. Then afterwards,
Hit him off the
tell
ground.
Mike Tyson to either put up or shut up.
Lewis hit him off the ground like a fucking basketball, didn't he? It's like he's dribbling him. Jesus.
Oh, fans, we wish you well. Yeah, got plenty of videos this week. Before we do so, you know this is going to get mentioned, don't you? Here he is, Tony himself. I'm not sure if we've done that little graphic, but
amazing.
That's good. My Ryan Deal post that one, eh? That's good to be.
It almost looked like the twins in the junkyard from the movie Nothing But Trouble with Chevy Chase from like 1989, if you remember that one.
No, but he wants to believe. There's Tone with his tinfoil hat on. He says, obviously, we want to see Bivol Beterbiev next. It's a great fight, but please show me a fighter who's got stronger with age. He's 39, and he's getting more destructive. Physically, that's not usually possible, but he's doing great doing it. Great sport needs looking like baseball was. Yeah,
I'll give you one cynical Tony Bellew. Manny Pacquiao.
Beterbiev's clearly not one of the lads.
Well, he's not a Brit for starters, is he? So he's not part of the club.
Bellew, man, like I'd like to actually thank him for slow weeks where he comes out with, because like we've seen all this shit before from Bellew, but even though he's like aware of all the fucking people taking the piss out of him, he still continues this fucking shit. Like now he wants a full investigation into Artur Beterbiev for having an atypical finding, which is produced naturally, which is not the same as a failed test. But his mate Connor had 2 failed tests. But forget about that shit. Let's get to the bottom of Artur Beterbiev. Fuck me, man.
Bit of the bomber. We love a bit of bomber Bellew. Somebody sent a video in as well of the bomber this week. A bit of accidental partridge getting himself in a spot of bother, thinking somebody was looking for a photo. Let's have a look at it now.
Yeah. Anyone want anything from the shop? Freddo's la. Used to be 10 pence back in the day then. All right, love. Telling you, lad. Everyone knows everyone. It's everything. Do you need a hand, champ? Do you need a hand? Go ahead, lads, you get in. I'll lift it off for you. There you go, mate. Have a nice day. Yeah, come here. Oh, with this in the background. Come here. Oh, you want a photo of you? Come here. You'll realise soon. There you go, champ.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Show that to your mates. They'll let you know.
Classic. All right, fair play to him being a decent guy and helping his neighbors and shit like that.
Everyone knows everyone.
Well, it's basically like if Cheers was a town, it would be Everton, apparently. Except nobody knows Tony.
See that last bit? See if that was anything else, man. We got the fucking phone lobbed at us. But
see when he goes to him. You'll realise soon, mates. You'll be at home in your bed, mates, and you'll realise Tony Bellew's taking a photo of you, mate, and you'll be sorry then, pal, because everyone knows everyone around here. Even the old man who's I've staged to be outside his house when I walk down the street, mate. Oh, what a guy, man. I love this guy, Bellew. Never leave the public eye again, Tony, man. What a guy.
Probably fucking Joe the Ripper for the local pub that, hey, like, mate, I'll give you 50 spot if you can just walk out your front door for me, like, pretend you're disabled.
Well, see the way the old fella hopped in the door on his own, by the way. What was he doing?
Ran up the stairs to get the kettle.
Didn't read the script today.
No.
Oh, dear. To be fair to the guy at the end, though, Andy, you know, Tony hasn't been spotted in a while, so you wouldn't recognise him, would you?
Well, exactly. I mean, he's been in the jungle for a while, man. He's lost a lot of weight. He's looking like half the man he used to be, so...
Eating Freddo's used to be 10 pence. Brexit.
Tony needs to try a fucking Frodo bar and batter with the Scottish way. That's what he needs to fucking... He's missing it. He's missing it, Tony lad.
Anthony, exactly. Tell you who else is missing out. Here we are. JC's transfer dong, Slack the Planet, has alerted me to this. Bitcoin Rodney arrested... Who saw this coming? In relation to Hyperverse scam. A crypto influencer known as Bitcoin Rodney was arrested by the US authorities. It fleeced victims out of $1 billion.
Clearly
a billion.
What's the fucking Hyperverse? Have we already left the metaverse? What the fuck did I miss?
Metaverse is old hat.
Oh, that is amazing, man. Big
Steve,
we were early on him. The fans are listening to us. I told you.
Steve, stick that in the chat.
You
Please
look
clip
at
that
shit
one
like
up.
that, Rob, and you think back,
Please
and nobody
clip that.
like it's fucked up. Nobody would give you $5 for your mixtape. What a fucking world!
Exactly.
I'll get that one in a minute. Let's see what else we've got.
Bitcoin Rodney arrested. What's the word coming to? Free Bitcoin Rodney and Vivian Obanov.
Fucking
Next thing you know, they're going to end up arresting Christopher Lovejoy for being involved in a food truck scandal.
That's amazing. He just got too greedy, didn't he? Bitcoin Rodney he had a Billy behind the scenes, but he had to pop up on that Florida fight poster and put himself in the fucking in the firing line for the fence. Bitcoin Rodney.
He's like a real life
Repo Rick is shitting himself.
It's like a real life Tony Montana. He just took it a little too far.
Oh dear. We were talking earlier, Dominic, about the sad state of boxing journalists and boxing journalism, probably myself included. Well, what about this then? No smoke boxing are turning it around with this post. Eddie Hearn being interviewed on Sky Sports for hashtag Beterbiev Smith. They are, Dominic. There's the information you were looking at the boxing news for.
For old time's sake.
I'll tell you what. Old Andy here's got the kind of love sick eyes for Eddie's, the way he's looking at him. Please come home.
He's pining.
Is that Cashmere?
Probably. Yeah, there you go. Being interviewed. Bit of Eduardo. Oh dear. What else have we got? Let's have a look here quickly. Errol Spence getting involved. He might not have any eyes, but he's still got a brain. He says, oh yeah, if you was born a man, you shouldn't be allowed to fight women. If born with a dick, you should fight another person born with one too. Bit of philosophy there from old Earl.
Well, let's see.
It was funny because the post on Twitter that sort of that highlighted it.
The drugs wearing off.
It sort of made you think that he was sort of coming out as like trans or something.
He might be it. Maybe Crawford took more away from him than you thought, Dominic.
Kelly Maloney's promoting him for the rematch.
Oh dear.
I love that fucking, like I referenced that earlier in that thread as well. Somebody was like, oh, to Bud Crawford. Bud Crawford was like, no comment when Spence started talking about his cataract and all that. Like, no wonder I was getting hit with so many left hooks I couldn't see, or I got hit with so many hooks and jabs I couldn't see out my eye and all, blah, blah, blah. Comment was like, no comment. And some bastard under the comments was like, name the list of fatties that had died. And he was like, Bomac next. Crawford was like, a bitch or soft ass wouldn't say that shit to my face. And I was like, I bet he wouldn't either, but.
Right, what else have we got here? A bit of a prediction from LRTV Highlights. He said to Michael Thompson, friend of the pod, he wasn't having any of these Beterbiev predictions. He says, watch tomorrow night when Beterbiev feels Smith's left hook. Smith wins either way. Better boxer and harder puncher there.
Then
His
who?
left hook is more mythical than fucking. Who was the other British fighter that they said had a left hook like fucking. Who was it?
It was Barry
Josh
Hearn
Kelly?
with Joshua. No, it was
Josh
Barry Hearn
Kelly?
with Joshua.
Yeah.
Josh Kelly left hook, man. 5 in a row.
Triple left hooks. Roy
Undefeated.
Jones, yeah.
That's who did Callum Smith ever knock out with that left hook, by the way? That was fucking on Artur Beterbiev's level.
Matcha Borderleak.
That's a name that I can only hear in Aussie's accents.
Borderleak got licked. Here, what Andy, you remember what Andy was saying? About the infamous Barry Hearn one. I think it was in when Barry Hearn had a Sun column or one of these red top columns when AJ was just in the early stages of his pro run. You know that thing Barry. Andy knows what I'm talking about. It was like the right hand of Ernie Shavers. Yeah.
The jab of Larry Holmes,
the jab of Holmes, the right hand of Shavers, the charisma Ali, the left,
the lips of a movie star.
Frazier. Oh, honest to Christ!
The mindset of a big meat.
It was during the time when Barry Hearn's fucking arse got jealous of its mouth. You know what I'm saying, man? Because it's just that much shit was coming out at that point, you know.
Let's not forget Barry Hearn is the fellow who said Herbie Hyde was the next Muhammad Ali. Let's put that in perspective there, by the way.
Hey, Herb.
Good point.
Barry Hearn fucking highlight for me was when they stopped the fucking Amir Khan and Paul McCluskey fight on the cut that time, and he jumped in the ring. Mental, remember that? It was fucking brutal.
Paul McCluskey fight me got cut.
That was funny. That.
You remember all the Golden Boy guys were there? They were losing their. They didn't know what to do.
Barry going in. Taylor O'Higgins.
Steve, was not a Northern. Was it not up here that Colin McCluskey fight?
No, it was in Manchester.
No, I think
it was supposed to be on Sky, wasn't it, originally? And then the undercard fell through, and it ended up being on like Premier Sports or something. I think.
Yeah, you're right, Steve. Yeah, you're right. I remember the one where he won the European title was up your way, Dominic. All right, and I love him forever for when he won, and then Brian Peters went and jumped on him, and he pushed him off. He's like, "Get off me, get all the fucking cameras over there. Fuck off."
I must have been up in Mahara Steve, was it?
That was in Mackerfeld the same night as Rogie fought Sexton in the rematch in Belfast. They had the two fights at the same time.
Aye.
There was a press conference up in the Ulster Hall, the Ulster Museum, actually, for Colin McCluskey, because I remember going to that. But no, the fight was in Manchester, I believe. Anyway, Taylor Higgins was tweeting out, he said, you can see how Bivol's step-back counters are going to pose real problems for Beterbiev. And then Raf, Lucy 2.0, one of our analytical friends on Twitter, who we're big fans of here, he said, to play devil's advocate, Beterbiev's flat-footed, yet still glides his feet very fast to re-maneuver angles. Given that the majority of Bivol's perceived flurries were in fact non-scoring shots, is there a danger focus overstating the IQ gap between them?
That's what we talk about all the
time.
There's
an IQ gap.
As fight fans,
language. This is new language, yeah.
Steve, we're always saying about, look, if a fella can remaneuver and there's an IQ gap between the two of them, it's going to be the fucking definitive fucking.
The only IQ gap is in between his ears, man. What do these dickheads get on with it like? Flip, man?
I hate these guys.
Lee Whaley would blush at that sort of nonsense.
I hate these guys that watch fucking tape of boxing and they try to just use new language to describe what's happening. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's fucking so infuriating. It's pure boxer size bench shit, and there's a million of them on YouTube. And some of them are like fucking like making lucrative bread, which is insane to me, because it's like they've never looked at a fucking fight before in their life. Like, what is he talking about? Is there a danger folks are overstating the IQ gap between them? For who? Who's the danger for? Fuck off.
I don't know, man. My president once upon a time said misunderestimate us, so yeah, I love words.
Yeah, Matty's on board with elusive Raf. Anyway, from the dangers of Raf to the dangers of Beterbiev to the outright dangerous. You thought Beterbiev was dangerous enough. He has nothing on this guy. Yes, it's the guard himself. I tell you what.
A fucking danger, by the way. The camera on, love. Camera on.
Here we are.
I love it. I fucking love it.
You'd rather tackle Beterbiev. Here we go, boys.
I'm going to see you, babe.
I was about to kiss you on the Oh, are you live?
Yeah, we
are. Yeah. Are you live?
Not live, but we're... I'm going to see you, babe.
I was about to kiss you on the Oh, are you live?
Yeah, we
are. Yeah. Are you live?
Not live,
Not
but
live.
we're...
Good, thanks.
Who's done the sound effect?
I don't know who's done that, but fair play to them. Credit to
What did that breath smell like on the ear of Michelle Joy Phelps? Everybody wonder. I was going to show that I was going to be creepy, but sorry, I'm back in character. Sorry.
Did you shower before this interview?
I just smell the side of your neck, Michelle. Oh, sorry, you're live. Eddie's like, even Eddie's getting embarrassed. Fuck me, man.
Eddie's like, what the fuck's going on there? But at the same time, man, can you imagine her uterus? What would have fucking happened if he actually made contact with her lips? Okay, Jesus, man, she's been quivering in her fucking boots.
Eddie's like, I don't know why this is making me horny, mate, but it is.
Yeah. Do you shower before an interview?
Ricky Graville says some guy in the group chat apparently did that. I think it was Damo created this one as well for the game.
Luis Alberto Lopez. This is Fight Club. Come on in. In Kingston, Jamaica.
The banter, man.
What did he ask? Did he ask Beterbiev?
The way she carved him as well, she was seeing him coming, like she's seen him coming. That was prime shoulder roll defense for Michelle Joy Phelps there. She tucked in like James Toney. She was like, no.
Who was it asked the guy about Bellew the week actually, and he tried to kind of palm it off
and then he showed him the picture of the guard that Ryan Deal had done.
He was like, wasn't he under a drain or something? He was like, it's offensive to me. The guy.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure it's fine.
I'm like a troll.
he tried to make it. He had no idea what Bellew of the week was. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean?
Am I a belly?
Well, that was oddly Bellew of the week. What's that? And then he started singing. What the?
We know all them are listening because they'll be fucking repeating the shit that we be saying on here during the week.
It reminds me, I was watching over Christmas there, they had the second Godfather film again, and You know when Michael asked Fredo, does he know Johnny Ola? You know how Michael or Fredo betrays him, and Fredo just goes, "No, never heard of him." That's what came to mind when Ian's asked God, does he know what Belly of the Week?
Oh, you think he protested too much? He knows all right, doesn't he? The guy.
Boxing Nutters messenger group. Get yourself
Probably
alive.
is, isn't he? Holly's account. Hi, Holly. She'll listen to you in the week.
Sorry, Holly. You took over the spot of that woman who wasn't a woman who used to listen to us.
Oh, yeah. Well,
what was her name again?
I know.
MGP getting that Floyd Mayweather shoulder.
Emily
roll
X.
on there,
Emily X.
Oh, aye.
I used to think that was Brian King. I had myself convinced it was Brian King.
Probably
Why?
was.
Like, Brian King's a good guy. I don't think he'd do that. Like, I don't know what was wrong with me back
No,
then.
I think he would. He's in Thailand at the moment. Shout out, Brian.
See, good for him, man. Shout out Brian King. Good for him.
Alicia Baumgardner
Oh, my God.
tweeted out. She says, I don't say much
Listen, fucking stop talking.
because I don't have to. But you all got to understand the Lord is working behind the scenes. The way he's orchestrating my life will have you all questioning how strong your faith is in the midst of trial. Press in and watch it play out.
Can I get first dibs at this before Rob comes in to try to defend these?
No.
It says
I
from
nominated her, you
Earth.
madman.
It says from Earth, Andy, which I would question. Go ahead.
What I was just going to say is, like the Lord's got her back. The Lord's working behind the scenes. I think the Lord's a bit busy fucking elsewhere just now in the world trying to fucking sorry, at least a Baumgartner's fucking positive PED tests over at Rob, man. Fucking hell.
Like, Jesus, come on. Look, listen, I have shit on my mind. But what about Alicia Baumgartner's vindication? I get to it. I nominated this shit, man, because when she said, I don't say much, what? This bitch has not stopped talking since she pumped off. I swear to God, every day she's on Twitter talking about her haters and God's work and fucking, I know you can't understand how a fighter is this. Like, honestly, it's over between me and Baumgartner, man. I'm going back to pen pals with Obanov. This shit is too much. What's wrong with this bitch? Like, she cannot shut the fuck up. Yep. Is this now the classic matchroom defense? You pop hot and then you talk that much that you convince the person that they fucking did something wrong. Like, I don't say. Do you know what I mean? I don't say, like, Conor Ben's on talking about, like, listen, Pierce Morgan, I've been having suicidal thoughts over this shit. Like, people are being, and they're like, it's not the people, asshole. You popped hot. It wasn't the fucking people. The same with this bitch. Like, she won't shut the fuck up talking. I don't say much because I don't have to. Well, how about you don't say much then?
Oh, vindication for Baumgartner.
I just think we might pray to different gods. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. She's enjoying life.
Yeah, apparently, Steve, did you see just on Baumgartner that she was on? There was some footage came out during the week of her and the goat on the same flight or something. I didn't.
That's right. No, she had an interview with Shaq where she said she could beat the Goat, and then the Goat was on the plane and they were having a bit of verbals, weren't they? And the Goat said, "Make sure you get me ass in the shot." Basically, that's what she said. Like, look, check out my ass.
I look. Ames has put it in here. The chat. He says in the clip of her and Clarissa on the plane, she said something along the lines of, "She's come to see the bomb." On it, and Ames put it up there, Steve. See it?
Yeah. She's like, "Yeah, you know, you're following me. You know, you're following me." And then
where is it in the Nutters group?
No, in the live chat.
Oh,
is it something to do with don't say bomb on a plane? That's probably the fucking good one. Yeah. What if I was a bombardier?
Oh yes, sorry, I see him now.
What about a bomb anecdote?
Like Deontay Wilder running through Belfast screaming "Bomb Squad."
It's like, yeah. I don't know. Nobody fucking moved in Belfast when we started a bomb squad. They were like, "It's not the first rodeo up here, asshole." Fuck me. Wasn't Billy Joe Saunders in that or something? Didn't he go into a Nando's?
Like on Dublin Road, wasn't it, Dominic? I think they were throwing chicken at each other or something.
Wilder off on his cunt or something like that.
General scallywag behaviour from Billy Joe. I tell you what, the ball's on Saunders, by the way. Forget about the Canelo fight. Imagine going in to fucking provoke Deontay Wilder when he's eating. Fuck that.
That's right, because he was over for Fury Pianetta, wasn't he? And then he was in the ring afterwards to announce the fact that they were fighting and all on Frampton Jackson undercard.
You're right. They're on.
There we go. Yep, we're going to be finishing off soon. So Rack Noble tweeted this one out. Beterbiev wasted absolutely no time updating the socials to 20-0, 20 KOs. Modern Groove Assembly says, lol, he probably did that on his stool after round one.
With his boxing gloves on.
Oh dear, that was a good
Probably
one.
use it. Probably use his HGH needles actually. Here, how quality would it be? How quality would it be, man? If the investigation goes ahead and it actually proves positive that he did take HGH and fucking testosterone. Holy
Meltdown
fuck.
Central.
Oh fuck! I'm here for that every day of the week, man.
Oh dear, there he is. There's Rick. He's loving life, is Rick. Right, final one. I got a video for you all to play. Probably forgotten about this in the midst of Tony and Callum and Beterbiev and all. But last week, O'Hara Davis got absolutely iced by the 78-year-old Ishmael Barroso, and he had a few things to say about the loss. It's fair to say.
Well, I need to congratulate Ishmael Barroso. He got me a very good shot. It was a punch from the gods. On the Monday, I realised that I wasn't sleeping that much. I still wasn't sleeping that much. I was getting less sleep after jet lagged than I was getting during my jet lag. And this really didn't make sense. You had the casino on the ground floor in this hotel, and people don't know that what they do in the casinos, they make the temperature perfect. They put more oxygen into the air. This isn't a conspiracy, this is actually facts. I've spoken about this to many people, a lot of people involved in the hotel business, in the casino business that are in the hotels, and they pump extra oxygen into the atmosphere in the casino so that people can be there all day gambling and not be tired. That's why you go to certain ones, you see people there from morning till night. They're not tired. They don't need no sleep because they're pumping more oxygen into the air that people just don't need to sleep. And in our bedrooms, they had big air vents in the fucking bedrooms. And then I realized I was up at I was going to bed about 11:30, 12 o'clock at night. I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2:30 in the morning. I'm just laying down. I can't sleep. I'll be on my phone.
It's jet lag, dickhead.
And while I was doing that at 3 in the morning, I realized the other people that are here with me, there was about 6 of us. They were on Instagram too. I'm thinking, what are you doing up at this time? They're thinking, what are you doing up at this time? You're fucking fired. I'm like, I can't sleep. They're like, I can't sleep too. I should have realized this earlier. Got out of the hotel, booked Airbnb, and stayed in the Airbnb. This is...
Oh, man. Where do you think Barroso was staying? In the fucking Ritz? The fucking
jet lag, man.
That would
Jesus
just never
Christ.
fucking end. My God, he just kept going on and fucking on, dude. We get it.
If anything, you have more oxygen. You should be able to fight 15 rounds. What are you complaining for? You should be thankful.
Especially with these two noses.
And what a fucking dickhead, by the way. Why didn't you just book the Airbnb in the first place? Why the fuck you want to be in a hotel if you're fighting for the world title? Because you want to be fucking have the limelight and go around with the belt on you afterwards in the casino floor. Like, by the way, if you stay in Vegas and the casino's on the ground floor, the rooms are soundproof and you can go to sleep just fine. I'm telling you now, you can go to sleep just fine. So that was a lot of fucking horse manure.
Rob can tell you
switch
for
the
a
vents
fact
off
that
in the room,
neighboring
for fuck's
rooms cannot hear what you're doing.
Exactly.
You can get away with almost anything.
Switch your
Well,
fucking
as long
vent
as they're not listeners of the Asylum and they know my voice, you know what I mean?
It wasn't a hotel that punched you in the face, says Mark Stanton. There you go. Right. Those are all the nominations I've got. Rob, what have you got for us this week?
No, I just have Baumgartner. Like, I can't listen to this one for another day. Like, I don't say much. No shit.
Dominic, what you got?
I've just got one, Steve. I think I sent it in to a few guys during the week. It was Sky Nicholson was back down under for a photo shoot. And Matchroom must have been a tweet from the big boss himself. He sort of, there was a Matchroom boxing account tweet with a big year ahead in 2024 for Sky, and that's it there. Yep. It's a comment underneath.
Cheeky from Harold O'Lederman.
That was my only nomination.
Good stuff.
What are you getting at here, Dominic?
I know. Such a hater. Go on, Matt.
So I would just like to add to the whole Alicia Baumgartner, Clarissa Shields thing is after they landed, Clarissa Shields posted a video where she said basically, she's like, am I saying that Alicia is on something? No. But the way she was acting, I'm just saying if somebody was on something, that's exactly the way that they would be acting.
Might be the way they tweet as well now that you say it.
So yeah, just to add a little bit of additional info to the aforementioned nomination.
Good stuff on the quote. Andy, anything from you, please?
Yeah, I suppose one for Matchroom. They've stuck they've saved the show. Guys are getting paid, but that Dylan Bellotti car, sticking that on as next gen when your main event is age 33 and 28 respectively, I think you're stretched in that wee bit there. So maybe a wee phone call to 20 standards possibly there. And one for fucking tit wank himself, Joey Barton, man. This guy he seems to be out on a limb here, trying to commit basically employment and social suicide by just basically flaming every cunt.
He's one of the lads.
Aye, he's coming out. Aye, one of the lads, obviously, but he's blaming everybody. For everything, but anyway, he's blaming Beterbiev. He's saying he's just out his mind. He's like all the Russians apparently in UFC. This goes back to what I was saying.
I think he called them Ruskies, and
Aye.
he used the politically correct term, Joey Barton. He's very fucking sensitive that way. He called them Ruskies, I think.
And then he goes on and says, "Have you seen Icarus?" Right? So he's on about the big Russian doping program. So remember what I said, guys. It's not about the Billy Brits and any on the fucking Dougal Islands. It's the Johnny Foreigners. It's the bad guys. Remember, your guys didn't cheat. Remember, it's all Johnny Foreigners and those Ruskies. Fucking hell.
Who let him out of Scott Brown's pocket to start tweeting again?
I mean, that wanker, man. Absolute wanker, man. How he got away with wearing your jersey, I will never fucking forgive that, by the way.
Announced himself as the best player in Scotland, subbed off in his first fucking game against Celtic. Fuck off,
fucking
man.
Turned up for fucking pre-season training, literally fat as fuck, as Ozzy Smith would say. So fucking shut his mouth. That's what he needs to do. And this is the guy, but so I just added it in there, just to let Bob Arm and Artur Beterbiev know what we're dealing with here. So this is Joey Barton, who stuck a fucking cigar in one of his teammates' eyeballs.
What about that?
Because
fractured
the
guys beat the shit out of some guy in the training pitch as well. Fractured his jaw and did all kinds of stuff. Maybe, hopefully, he runs into Artur Beterbiev and he gets to express himself in the flesh.
Aye, you Ruskies are steroid cheats. By the way, fucking
great
hell.
lads. With
So that's all I've got, mate.
Yeah.
One for Bellew, obviously, in that as well, and Baumgartner as well, mate.
Yeah, we'll go through them again quickly. Episode 555, then we'll make our picks and get out of here. So Rick Glazer going mad and defending himself, with Franz Botha falling on hard times. We've got Tony Bellew definitely falling on hard times with his bullshit this weekend. He got called out by the whole Bitcoin dogma. Gone from the metaverse to the hyperverse and beyond. He's got outed there. No smoke boxing. Eddie being interviewed. Shocker. Errol Spence. Trans politics. We had LRTV. We had Elusive Raph, giving his opinions. We had Modern Groove Assembly. That was quite a fun one. Rick again. Scott Nicholson. And all the videos, including the many acts from the GAD. We had yours, Andy, as well, that we played earlier. Eddie's Confidence. We had Bellew with the BBC Sport photograph. And O'Hara's excuses. Rob, quite the rundown this weekend.
Yeah,
The
no,
year's 2 weeks old, man. Fucking
It's the year's 2 weeks old. We had like tougher competition in Bellew of the week that we've seen in the fights that have happened so far. But I would say it has to be Tom Gray, man. Listen, if you make it to a position in life where you're the editor or something to do with the Ring magazine, you have to have, at least as a fucking prerequisite, have watched a lot of fights. And if you've watched a lot of fights and you've watched Artur Beterbiev and you've watched Callum Smith's career, how the fuck on earth can you come to the conclusion that Callum Smith is going to knock him out? Like even the Callum Johnson, that's fucking donkeys years ago. And look at him now. Look what happened in the first round. Basically, it was like, you know them old videos where they like let a bear off a chain in Russia and he starts like mauling the guy in the fucking woods. That's what it looked like.
But it's no badly cutting that first round as well.
And he looked scared, and Buddy McGirt couldn't do nothing to motivate him, and he kept on telling him to stay off the ropes. And I felt like Callum Smith was going to say to Buddy McGirt, "Why don't you come in here, man? Because I can't stay off the ropes. He keeps putting me on the ropes. Like it's crazy to think that the fucking editor of the Ring magazine would make a pick for Callum Smith. I can't get my head around it anyway. I was fucking laughing my head off this morning when I seen the result because I couldn't believe there's so many shouts. Rob Tebbett, shout out Rob Tebbett and the guys at Boxing News. They put a poll out and they were like, "Who's picking Smith?" And my mate Danny put up underneath it.
They actually
nobody outside England.
They actually put a video out. Honestly, I mean, look at
Gad sniffing Michelle's ear is close, by the way, but that's fucking up with the Phoenix. That's Phoenix levels, isn't it? Like that's fucking Phoenix levels of creepiness. Like I wonder what he does if that's what he does when he thinks the camera's not rolling. What else does he do? That's what I need to know.
Imagine what's on his phone, by the way.
She's doing her criminology degree. She knows. She knows a creeper when one's coming up behind her.
She's got that radar. She's got the senses, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's been busy. She's been.
Well, she was dressed up like Velma from Scooby Doo as well, so maybe she's got an investigative streak.
Just needs the specs.
The creepy janitor. Go on, Dominic. Who are you going for?
Tom Gay. I understand where Rob's coming from. I'm tempted to go for Bellew as well, just for his, just the sort of rank hypocrisy.
We're starting to think Bellew's a bit of a hypocrite. Is that what you're saying, Dominic?
I'll go for the Gad.
Oh, the Gad, yeah. I'm going for the Gad as well. And Matty, who are you going for?
I just go with you guys and go with the Gad. Why not? Let's just make it easy.
3 for the Gad. Your pick is academic, Andy, but don't let that stop you.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite solid. It was looking quite solid for Eddie and Co and Bellew after all the PED stuff and that. But the more you look at it and the way it's been broken down in slow motion, and then Eddie actually just giving it that look, like to say, "The fuck are you doing, you creepy weirdo?" You know? Seriously, man. Eddie's had a look there.
It's just gave a little glimpse, a slight insight into what the Gad is like when he thinks the camera's not rolling. That's what I want to see more. You know what I mean?
And the thing is, man, look, the thing is, you see him as well, man. He moves like a pro, but he miscalculated that time.
His feet weren't in position, Andy. That's what the problem was.
Elusive Raph needs to do some analysis on it.
He was standing over his front foot when he leaned for the fucking...
He shot his bolt too soon, mate. He tried to get in. He cut in too quick. That was his problem. And he easily could have got countered there. Eddie saw it coming. Are
you trying to say he can't cut off the ring?
Right, before this descends into farce, congratulations, Gareth A. Davis. You are the Bellew of the Week winner for episode 555.
Quebec City.
Congratulations, Gad. Right, quickly
Kick
before
the Jamaica, man.
Before we hand it back to Matty, a bit of housekeeping. We had a couple of...
Fuck, we're handing it back to Matty.
A couple of subscribers.
No, you're giving me a handy.
On patreon.com/Boxing Asylum, we had Daniel Gilfillan join us and Billy Warren as well. Thank you to both of those. And also tomorrow, I informed, is Blue Monday, the most depressing day of the year. So to help you through, if your life wasn't depressing enough already as it was, I've put up 2.5 hours of Punches from the Past on to go live about 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon to help you through the week on Blue Monday. Go on, Matt.
You know, that's funny that's the saddest day of the year for people. I think that's interesting, Steve, because in the United States, it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So I assume for many white Southerners, it is actually the saddest day of the year. So anyways, for the crew here at Boxing Asylum, I would like to thank everybody for coming in here. Jason Chukwu stopped in earlier, as well as Dez. We've had Dominic, Rob Kelly, Andy Patterson, Steve Wellings. I've been your host, Matt DiGelinardo. We will see you fine folks next week.
We'll never forget.
Yeah, let's get up.
We want to be honest, yeah.
Crying like a little bitch. I've never met a fucking swank that can fight me.
I fell asleep.
You're a fucking bum, you're a fucking asshole.
Rumpo fucking skin.
But allegedly, Oscar Rivas has failed a test.
7-year ain't. I will
fucking smash fucking you.
I hope you fucking die.
Be safe.
I love Boxing Asylum. It's as simple as that.
Sports Social Podcast Network.